Rocket.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as The Midday Show. That right there is your girl Adara. I'm Sharif, and as per usual, we're going to wait for everyone to migrate on over from the other screen. Before we start chatting about today's lesson, a couple of trades we're going to cover before we get to things. We got the crazy Stitch lady already in the house. They say, let's go Disney. Pillsbury, howdy to you, my friend. Darwin, one of the OGs. We got Mateus Lane. We got the missus. We got Fox, Thomas Johnson, the one. Sharif's mom is in the house. Love that. Tai, Benson Yang, Paulie. We got The Rock. We got T-Money. We got Sharif's beard from Christmas past. What is going on with these names today? I love it. Sagar Patel, we got Isaac Roberts, Brian Wolsk. I hope I didn't butcher your name, and I do apologize. Big Adam DeLuce, Arsenal fan extraordinaire. We got Fee Rhymes with AMC Clutch, Dan Gilman, Peter. Bright Awakening, the gauntlet, baby. We got everybody. We couldn't be happier to have you guys. Today we are talking about a very interesting topic. It's earnings all week this week that we're talking about. Today we're going to be talking about a really interesting option strategy that you can employ during earnings. We'll get to that in a second, but let's cover this trade here on TSLA. This one has been outperforming the market on the day. We're up 2 percentage points here on Tesla. We're long on this bad boy, 183.70. So we were able to wet our beak all the way through that 185.50. So we were knocking on the door of that $2 in the money, but down we go through 185. So we're going to have to pack our patience here. The idea here was super simple. You heard Neil cover this on the morning show. He said, I think VWAP is the place to be at TSLA, and that's exactly what I did there. We held VWAP initially on the first descent, popped back up, and I'm like, all right, show me that you're going to hold VWAP again. It showed me. So I got long. And then we've been wetting our beak on the move up here on TSLA. Several beak wetters. Top wick right now, 185.50. Next beak wetter or profit taker for my noobs out there that don't know my lingo. You can't blame them. I mean, my lingo's a little irregular. I have my profit taker sitting here at 185.73. But down we go. That's about $1 north of where we are. Tesla giving up a little bit right now, Adara, as it could not hold that 185 level. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, other than this fabulous Tesla trade?
I'm all right. Can't complain.
Awesome. Always good to hear. Yeah. I'm trying to get involved in this meta because she's looking beautifully range bound. But I think because my thing is too, is I feel like this could be a bear flag. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to short it up and then, continue wetting the beak as we get to the lower end of the range. Then if there's some little downside, we can nibble at those with whatever piece for the dream we have saved. Because as Sharif says, what is life without whimsy? I do not know. And you know what? Maybe I don't want to know. Because whimsy's quite fun. This meta look is quite fun. Also, Fee Rhymes with AMC was asking if you missed any lessons on options. You did not. This is actually earnings week. This is our day on options with regards to earnings. So welcome to the party.
Yes.
We are very happy to have you. Take your shoes off at the door, your coat off at the door, I guess, and come sit down for this. Also, there was Hello Sunshine, I believe, in the chat saying, please talk Lily. And you never have to ask me twice to talk about Eli Lilly, especially with her earnings today. Let me look at Lilly. This is quite the epic rise and fall. I'll just say fall. We had a nice move up here. Other than this lower high, this lower low here, generally, a nice little upward trend, higher high, and then we flew to the downside with the viciousness. I don't really have a point of entry here, just because I like things to be a little rangier, and this is possibly whatever the opposite of range is. We are very much moving to the downside. Let's look at the daily on this, because I know we did actually eclipse 700 on Lilly yesterday, because I was playing around with that 7 break below VWAP. Yeah, this is, talk about a gap up and then a big move to the downside. This one filled the gap in but a moment. Interesting look here. We're gonna have, not a moment, it took a while, but we'll have to see what happens here. I think this is gonna be an interesting look. We are at new all-time highs, or we were at least earlier today. I'm willing, if Lilly gets into a range, I'm not gonna say no. I will get involved, but there could be a lot of volatility, so I do want to be very careful here. Also, shout out to Roger saying shh to the whoop. Yeah, we're gonna bring the swoops over here if the market allows us to do so. But for now, would just wish that Meta would allow me to slide into her DMs, because that would be a nice little range trade for me. I'm really excited to talk about these option strategies, have some examples, learned a little bit, lots of questions. Always learning, right? That's the goal. So I think it shall be hopefully a fruitful discussion as always, and always happy to have everybody here. How is the Cybertruck?
It is good. Well, it's coming back in now, but we'll pack our patience. The stop is in place. I fat fingered the smallest position possible into this. I didn't actually mean to add here. I meant to take out some so that you could see it on position board. This was not an add by design, but it is the smallest amount of shares that I can possibly add. So we're still holding. It changed my cost basis by like, I think 10 pennies, not even. So from 63 to 73 there. If this comes into 73, that's the end of the trade. So if it breaks that level, breaks my entry, we'll wait until it bounces off VWAP again, and then we'll debate whether or not we're going to get into it. So it's coming into my entry here. So looks like we're going to get stopped out any second right now on NVDA for the remaining about 25% of the position will break even on if it triggers. Let's see if it is able to reclaim 184, but that's not a problem. I've got my stop in. Let's get down to business, Adara, because we have a lesson to teach here. What are we talking about today? Well, it's right there. The first topic, the straddle and the strangle. Don't come at me for the names, okay? I didn't make them up, just like the candlestick patterns. I'm not responsible for your innuendos there. But straddle and strangle is an options strategy that you can employ. It's employable anytime, but specifically it works well when you have an earnings report, okay? So what is this whole straddle and strangle thing? Let's talk a little bit about that, okay? So the straddle strategy is basically where a trader simultaneously buys a call option and a put option with the same strike price, okay? And the same expiration date. So you're buying a call and a put at the same strike price for the same expiration date. This strategy is employed when the trader expects a substantial price movement but is uncertain about the direction. So Disney reports Wednesday, right?
It does. I believe that's the market close.
So we're going to use Disney as an example today, and I'll bring down my options chain in a second, okay? Just to kind of show you the example. So you don't know how Disney is going to do. I don't personally know how Disney is going to do. So if I wanted to play the earnings release on Disney from an options perspective, I buy a put or I buy a put below the current price, and I buy a call above the current price, but they have to be the same, okay? By holding both the call and a put, a trader profits from a significant move in either direction. Obviously, one expires worthless, right? So you have to do that calculation in your assessment. So there has to be enough upside potential for you to be able to capture money. And how do you know what potential upside there is? Well, recall yesterday's lesson when we told you about Market Chameleon, right? Market Chameleon, the whole point of why we were talking about this website is because, let me just remove it for a second because it's going to log me in. I don't want you guys to see my login. And for whatever reason, Market Chameleon is not working right now. The point is, on Market, yeah, I don't know why the hell it's not working. Okay, let me try this again. The Katina Man says a refresh. We'll do that. Yeah, it's taking its sweet time. But I'll tell you, on Market Chameleon, there is an implied, okay, so I'm about to get a Tesla right here. If it continues to move down, just keeping my eye on this, because for whatever reason, my order didn't trigger. Sorry, I have to digress for a second here, guys, as I have to manage this trade. But on Market Chameleon, there is a column there under the earnings tab on the top that shows you the implied move. So based upon the options data, and analysts have a look at what the stock may or may not do on the day, and they basically project an upward move of, say, 10% plus or minus. So it could move up 10%, it could drop 10%, and you're basing your options straddle strategy based upon that. You can get it from a different source as well. Market Chameleon is undergoing system maintenance. Please be patient, should be back up shortly. All right, so we'll pack our patience with Market Chameleon, okay? And then I'll show you that in a second. So that's the first strategy here. You're basically looking to get something above and below, and you're going to profit from whatever direction it moves. But you need to make your calculation to make sure that the premiums that you're paying on the one that's going to expire worthless do not outweigh the profits that you're going to make from the one that's actually going to trigger. Okay, so make sure you do that math. Now, the strangle strategy, very similar to the straddle strategy, only a little bit different. So it's the exact same thing as a straddle, but you're buying options with different call prices for the call and different call price for the different strike price for the put. Okay, so same thing as a straddle strategy, but with different strike prices for the call and different strike prices for the put option. A long strangle involves buying an out of the money call and an out of the money put. Okay? This strategy is suitable for when a trader anticipates a significant move but is not sure about the direction. The goal is to profit from a substantial price swing regardless of whether it is up or down. So we're going to get to questions in a second, but we're going to go on to the next stage, which is implementation, because it gets a little bit clearer there. So before implementing a straddle or a strangle, traders need to identify stocks with obviously upcoming earnings announcements. You need to also analyze the historical volatility and the implied volatility to gauge the expected price move. And again, this goes back to going to the Market Chameleon website to see exactly where or to see exactly what analysts are projecting for the expected move up or expected move down. So you can analyze, number one, what strike price to focus on, and number two, does it make sense from a dollars and cents perspective? If one was to trigger, does the other one cost you too much that it offsets your profit? So you need to understand those two things. And thirdly, execute the strategy by buying both the call and the put options. Understand, though, that the cost of entering a straddle or strangle can be higher due to purchasing two options, because you're making two different purchases here. So the price movement must be significant enough to cover these costs, Adira. Any questions or comments before we go on?
What I like, and I know we're going to talk about risk in a second too, but what I like is that risk management is kind of baked in a way, because you do have either side covered. And you were telling me that this is something that you've tried with trading earnings just in the market as well, right? But I think what's cool with the options is that you can just get them ahead of time. You're all prepared. You're ready to go. And then you just have either side prepared. Also, just to clarify, so the straddle is when you have a direction set in stone or that you're leaning towards, and the strangle is when you're not sure of the direction?
No. So, one second. I can't hear you both at the same time. So, the straddle strategy, you're buying a call and put option with the same strike price.
Okay.
With the strangle strategy, they're not the same strike price.
Okay.
What's up, Ramron? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So I think, I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure, because I guess straddle makes sense because you're kind of on either side there. So yeah, very interesting, very cool stuff. And I think also too, other than the inherent risk in the fact that you have to pay, and there's tax considerations as well. Some of the notes I was reading for this with regards to options and taxes, something to absolutely keep in mind there as well. That can add up a little bit and rack up the prices there. But I think, other than that, I think there is some nice risk management in that you do have yourself covered in either direction. In that, hey, if it goes the way if it goes one way, you have some protection. If it goes the other way, you have a little bit of coverage there. Also, I am in two trades, just to quickly address. IWM long, I'm breaking if we have a decisive break of VWAP. Meta short is going quite splendidly, if I do say so myself right now. We're just, we kind of slowly broke below that range. So like I said, I was kind of interested in the idea that this could be a break of that bear flag, but I'm going to take out some profit right now in the lower end of that range. But back to these lovely straddle and strangle options. I
just want to update everybody following the Katina Man's trades. He's now short SPY. So taking that negative view on the market, keep your eye on the chat. The Katina Man typically puts his positions in the chat. So if you want to know what he's doing, keep your eye on the chat. Now, risk to reward. So what are the risks involved with this type of strategy? The primary risk is that the stock price does not move significantly enough to actually trigger or pass your strike price to actually accumulate profits on the option, resulting in losses from the premiums paid on the option. So sometimes they expire worthless, or they'll be worth less than you anticipated. Additionally, the time decay can erode the value of the option if the anticipated price doesn't move or doesn't occur promptly. So you need to keep your eye on what the expiration date is. Typically though, because it is an earnings play, you're gonna have that immediate volatility or at least 24 hours thereafter as money positions into the name after digesting its earnings report. So with earnings, this isn't as much of an issue. The time decay issue for it to expire worthless or be less than what, so that there's no offsetting happening. So that typically is not a problem for time decay, but if you're going to employ this strategy during other times where there isn't as much volatility as there is with earnings, this is something you're going to need to consider. The other, the reward side of this, obviously, is if there is a substantial price movement in either direction, profits can be significant, and we know how levered options are. So, if you were to make X amount on the holding the equity name, it's going to be a lot more on the options, depending. With respect to rewards as well, profits are maximized when the stock price moves beyond the break-even points, the strike price, which are determined by the sum of the premiums paid for the call and the put option. So again, the risks, the primary risk is that you don't have enough movement in the stock price to actually result in a profit, so you end up having a loss because of the premiums. And the other risk is the possibility of time decay. The reward, though, is if there is a substantial move in the price, profits can be quite significant, and the profits are maximized when the price moves beyond the break-even points. Questions or comments, Adara?
Yeah, I think in general, given the amount of risk, despite the substantial reward, I think really the key here, like we were talking about with earnings in general, research. Know that stock like you know the back of your hand. If that's if that saying makes sense to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really have a good understanding of, we were talking about too, implied move yesterday or expected move. Understand how that thing might be, dancing around, doing the shimmy wick dance, as it were, so that you can really prepare. Say, hey, is it even going to be worth the risk that I'm having here for the reward that we get?
Good
also,
point.
someone in the chat was mentioning the that we should look at payoff or payout for options here. So I have this because I thought this was I pulled this up. I'm not sure if this is the exact thing, but I found this. So it's the idea you have whatever the option premium is, then you have your strike point, your strike price, and you have to know where you're going to break even, I guess, on the premium, and then everything. They kind of have the profit charted out in here on a P&L. So you've got like the loss, which is wherever your premium is going to be, and then making sure that when you have your strike price, that you're going to be able to have some profit there and able to break even. So definitely something I'm still trying to understand. I am not an options person.
Yeah, neither
But
am I.
and I appreciate people in the chat. If anyone else has any other examples too, I mean, we love visuals and we love learning, of course, on how to trade.
Absolutely.
So if anyone has anything else that we can look at. But yeah, thank you. I believe Lincoln in the chat mentioning this in terms of this profit and loss and just kind of having knowledge here. Reliable Rudy saying here too, from a trading perspective, I can agree with that, but not always the case when looking at a long-term investment. I guess this is in terms of risk and reward. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think in terms of trading too, it's a little bit shorter terms. You really have to have all your kind of ducks in a row and be prepared to strike and know when to get out. So I think, you know what I mean? I think slightly different scenarios. I do totally understand the longer term investing going to be a skosh different, but I think from a trading perspective, nice to have kind of everything ready and have your knowledge and be ready to fight those crazy options battles.
Yes, and one thing you have to keep in mind that we're giving you the absolute basics of the strategy. It is incumbent upon you to do your own homework before investing your own money. You have to be comfortable with the strategy. You have to understand the intricacies of the strategy, not me. I'm not employing it. I'm giving you just the idea so that you can know this idea exists, but it is going to be incumbent upon you to actually cross your T's, dot your I's before you invest any real money. Just want to put that out there, guys, because it is not something that should be taken lightly, especially with earnings, which are very volatile and notoriously hard to trade. You've heard Sean many times say, not trading earnings. I'm not trading earnings. And then there's a reason for that, because it is a volatile time and you can absolutely get rid. And look, he's going to make exceptions every now and again, PLTR being one of them, right? But yeah, I just really want to press that point home, okay? So make sure that you know what's going on with this strategy and how much you stand to gain or lose have max losses, have your trading set up, have your risk management, everything, cross your T's, dot your I's. I'm not going to belabor that point, but I just want to throw that out there. Let's get back to Tesla, baby. Okay, so it looks like here we're basing out just a smidge below 184, and now we're doing this kind of consolidation dance at that whole dollar level, starting to curl back up, not really putting in those higher highs with aggression quite yet. We did stay a little bit above VWAP this time, so if you're waiting for that 183.5 to come in, which is where VWAP is on this chart, let me just check my side chart here, 183.42 on the side chart, 183.37 on this chart. So essentially the same level for VWAP on Tesla. It is now curling back up into that 184. However, keep in mind here, even though it is nicely up on the day around almost 2%, it is putting in lower highs. Look at that big crest that we had over here at 186.5 at around, what time was that? 10 a.m. And then we topped out over here. This is where I got top wick at 10:56 just before the show. And now we're topping out for the moment at 184.5. Maybe we make it up to 195. That would still be a lower high. So we need to be cognizant of the succession of lower highs, all the while basing out at VWAP. That could lead to... Dara got scared there for a second.
I was just pointing. I was like flat bottom break.
I thought I caught you off guard.
That's fair to assume that I was scared because I am a notoriously jumpy person.
Yeah.
I don't think that's you know that's libel or slander about myself.
No.
I think that's pretty accurate. But yeah, that time I was just like, hey, shouting it out.
Flat bottom break, baby. Yeah, so we are basing out, guys, at VWAP at around 183, 184, putting in lower highs. So just be careful here on Tesla. It's got to hold that level for the long to remain valid. But I look at my side chart and my heart bleeds because Apple continues to head to the upside, and I want dip trades on Apple. I'm going to buy every single share that my account will let me buy on AAPL. I am sold on this stock. I'm just putting it out there. There goes Apple into high of days, baby. Now it is up 0.5%, 188.72 HOD, putting in higher lows. Look at that trough there that we made right at the opening bell. Then we broke VWAP to the south side again, holding up though at 187.30. And now here we go on our way to 189. We're breaking through the $0.75 a dare at that 188. Looks like we did break that initial IB high, which was at 188 2/3. So we've broken that. Do we hold above it? Different question. Let's see what Apple does on the day, because I got to tell you, the future's doing bupkis. The future is absolutely consolidative at near the low end of the day. So if Apple's pumping here on its own, it is quite secular right now. I don't see anything else pumping with Apple, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, Apple is certainly having a nice little march to the upside here, too. And I hope you are able to get those dip buys, because I know you're trying to get some extra bites of the apple there. Or I guess have more so that you can take more bites of the apple. Have more beak winners. There you go.
There you go.
Take that analogy, flip it, and reverse it there. Jose Mercado, thank you so much for the $15 super chat. Much appreciated. Which squeeze first? Grrr or PLTR, guys? Cheers. Cheers to you, too. Ooh, I'll actually use a cup. There we go.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you very much. And let's look at grrr and PLTR. So, yeah, GRRR definitely bearing its teeth the last couple days. I would say this looks a little less squeezy on the intraday. I think, earlier, I know yesterday we ran. I think right now, though, what I'm seeing is mostly lower highs, lower lows. This one did have 9-month revenue or up to Q3 2023 released yesterday. So nice catalyst. And as you can see, massive gap up yesterday. Gap up today as well. But big gap up yesterday, lots of strength. Breaking out of actually this earlier area of some chop and churn that I would argue could have been an area of resistance. Gurr said, no, I'm going to, grin and bear it right through it there. But yeah, I think right now, to me, I would say, just based on the daily, I haven't even looked at PLTR in quite some time today. We know Sean is looking at it. Shout out to Sean. And shout out to the podcast, where they do also review the upcoming earnings each week as well. Yeah, PLTR also, I think this VWAP chop and churn could be interesting, but even our big burst below VWAP, we kind of came back up. If we keep bouncing off of VWAP, this is going to get interesting for me. I don't know if I would get involved. Palantir and I are not besties. I don't have any issues with it. It's just not a name I'm super attuned to with regards to how it moves. I know Sean is in this name a lot. Sean trades this name, and O'Neill was in this earlier today. But yeah, Palantir, not super comfortable jumping into the pond with Alex Karp and and that. But yeah, I mean, you know, shout out to them, great earnings. I will say in terms of like technicals for today, this VWAP, you know, chop and churn and then bounce up could be a better look for me than GRRR. Of course, this is not, you know, I'm not diagnosing any movements ahead of time. I just think purely chart-based, and also in terms of volume, we had about 24 mil on GRRR. Palantir, we've got almost 200 mil. So I think Palantir, should one happen, that would be the bigger move there. However, squeezes are certainly in season. It's in squeezing, if you will, because I know GME trying to make a nice little move up here. We had a bit of a bull flag, trying to break out of this bull flag. Not a bad look, not something that I would be super comfy getting involved in, because whatever arranges, I can tell you this, comfortably this is not. But also I think, oh, keep going. Okay, so yeah, GME certainly, I was talking earlier about this on the big desk, because I noticed a lot of these heavily shorted names getting a nice little pop. Neil was talking about this as well with regards to a firm, but look at Carvana just making a nice vroom to the upside. There was another one too, AI, C3 AI. Nice look up here. No catalyst, so we don't know a why, but we do know that this has a nice short float. Again, much like Palantir, you're having a nice little VWAP bounce. Lots of stuff to talk about with regards to short squeezes or squeezes in general, but yeah, thank you so much for the super chat, Jose Mercado. I do think Palantir of the two is a better look for that.
When you got hair like this, you can absolutely move 24% in one day. Shout out to the Carp man, Alex Carp, killing Palantir and killing the hairdo game. I only... Ram, what are you doing?
She's on it.
Love Ram. Yeah, Alex Carp is the hair man, baby. Shout out to him. And shout out to Palantir, who absolutely demolished earnings today, growing revenue aggressively, new contracts. Keep your eye out for more commercial contracts. That is the kind of the holy grail for Palantir as they look to diversify, obviously, out of government contracts and to make their name in AI. Remember, essentially here, we were talking about Palantir last year with their commercial use AI to help these factories and distribution centers being able to monitor things on a much more micro level and obviously maximize profits. That's what everybody's looking for right now. All right. Apple's still pumping. We're possibly on our way into 189, but lo and behold, Meta decided that no, I'm not going to range trade the rest of the day, and it just absolutely flew up from that 456, let's say, and a half top that it had over here, this consolidation top, and it just blew through that, and we popped through 458. In fact, the spike there took us to 458 and a quarter, just a smidge above a quarter, actually. So Meta breaking out now for whatever reason, a bit of a $1.50 range. You could say 455 bottom and a 456 and a half top that we were ranging in for the majority of the morning, at least after this big boy Huadunk that we had here after the bell. But Meta looking like it is retracing. That would be 2 negative days today for Meta. I mean, we saw what Meta was doing yesterday after that huge move last week, setting a record for market cap gained in one day. Obviously, stands to reason that we do retrace a little bit here in the weekend, bring things back into equilibrium. But 455 for the moment seems to be that's gonna be like the area low. And VWAP on my chart is right at 459. So right now we're at 458. So $1 at least here into what I'm gauging as the first area of resistance, which is VWAP 459. Obviously, we have that 460, that $10 level subsequent to 459. So possibly some more resistance here for Meta as it tries to pop back up. Let's go back into TSLA real quick and see how that trade is panning out. So I'm pleased as punch having gotten out of the position at that level because it did stair step its way down to VWAP. And I keep emphasizing this. The lower highs on Tesla are quite, obvious to me. What isn't obvious is whether we get the, the descending wedge flat bottom break kind of thing through 183, through VWAP. Watching it right now to see exactly how it's acting at the volume weighted average price. And by the way, guys, I mean, I know we have newer individuals joining us every day. I say VWAP, I say EMAs and stuff like that. You may not know what I'm talking about. Make sure to go to the Day Trader or to the what's it called, Trader TV YouTube page and hit this button right here, that magnifying glass, and type in VWAP And look what comes up. This handsome gentleman by the name of Neil trading VWAP for huge profits on Plug Power. It definitely won't be to the long side for today on Plug Power as it tanks again. But the whole point of why I'm trying to tell you this is if we're using terminology that you find you're unfamiliar with, please go over to our website and just use the search function there. It'll help you out plenty. Tesla is now breaking down below VWAP. We did get an initial breakdown below VWAP earlier here around 10:30, but it did hold generally that 183 level. So we're going to keep our eye now on the whole dollar level to see if is that the line in the sand for Tesla's descent down off the highs at 186.50. We'll see whether 183 holds at the moment. Keeping my eye here on a bunch of other names. We didn't go over any small cap gappers. I think Nimit would be upset.
Oh yeah, how dare we?
Yeah, Nimit would be like, yo, bro, what's going on over here? All right, so there's only really one that I like at the moment, Adira. I know that TENX was the big one in the morning that everybody and their mother's cousin was yelling about, but GDS is catching my attention, and the reason it is because it's looking awfully good from a chart perspective. It doesn't have that big notional move that you had on TENX, but it has a hell of a great looking chart. So GDS, I don't see with a catalyst on the day. So I'm not sure exactly why it's moving, and I don't see anything from yesterday or the day prior. I didn't see a catalyst on this
one earlier either, because I was looking into that.
Oh, you know what it is? It's a Chinese company, so that's probably getting that pump off the China stimulus. So it's a China-based holding company, high-performance data centers. The float, huge, 1.4 billion shares. Okay, so this is going to be really hard to move aggressively, just as a general observation with 1.4 billion float. That is typically, a hurdle for that outsized move. Anyway, it's up nice. It's up 22.5% right now. It didn't give you that VWAP dip, but it did hold 6. So if you're waiting for that whole dollar retracement after popping into 622, you were paid, and you were paid handsomely because it held 6 to a T, and now it's popping up right into high days again, 622. GDS looks awfully good. Lacking a catalyst and a huge float, though, are the two drawbacks that I can just tell you offhand right away with GDS. The other one that I was looking at, KPTI, up 27.5%. This one, a dollar stock. It did hold $1 on the day. 112 is the low. The notional move, again, a little bit soft. Closed off at $1.35 yesterday, and the high on the day is 195. It is doing that dance with VWAP right now at that $1.75. So we'll have to see if this one gives up the ghost on VWAP. Lower highs on this 5-minute chart are kind of telling. GDS at high day. Obviously, Palantir, we'll get to that one in a second, but here, TENX, this is the big one from the morning. This has given up the ghost, though. It's up triple digits. Now it's up 68.25%. That big move into 23 1/3 has all but, evaporated because now we're below VWAP. We're below 15 bucks. We made a low of 1367 down into the right, lower highs, lower lows on TENX. Keep your eye on this one. By the way, the pre-market high was at 23 1/3, but look where the after the bell high is, 21.46. So right away, not tradable for me as it did not break the pre-market high after the bell. Not to mention, it is also below VWAP. So those are the 4 small cap gappers that I'm looking at. Nothing really exciting today in small cap gapper world, Adair.
Yeah, I will say it was even hard to find small caps for the small cap recap because a lot of them had just already given up those moves. They had the move in the morning, and then it's like, I'm kind of tired now. I'm going to rest. Like, find something else, Adara. And it's like, I was looking at 10X, and I was like, I do not even want to share this because it's not even moving anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're like, I'm going to feel like a chump if I put up this chart. We used to be up 130%. Now we're up like 70%. You know what I mean? I'm like,
absolutely.
What am I showing? What am I bringing to people? So certainly some, a little bit of a harder day to find those. I have to talk about Meta. I mentioned this in the chat, but you know how you were talking about that Meta breakout?
Yeah, what did it do?
I'm very happy I got out of that before we broke out because I'm really proud of the skills there because I said if we break out of that range, because we know how much I hold on to ranges, I was like, we have to get out. And so I got out right above that 456. We're not at 5 yet, Meta. Calm down. But yeah, just really the goal was trying to get the bottom of the range. I got it once, added a little bit. Yeah, not too much of a loss here, but also you're just happy I got it where I did. And that's why I think I'm proud of myself for just having the risk management to be like, hey, Adara, we're above your point of entry. Get out if you want to get back in later. You can. Really nice look on Meta. Congrats to anybody in this long. Felicitacion to you. Good look. 1, 2, 3, 4 green candles on this one. Definitely Meta, big fake out here because this looked to me like a bear flag, and that's why I was just trying to build the position and taking some out as we went down, thinking we were going to break below. We never broke below, so I had to go.
I don't think that that's a bad trade at all. You don't expect that kind of U-shaped recovery on a flat bottom consolidation because it was ranging like $1.50. Right?
Yeah, it was like, and it was a reliable range, and there were a couple times where this range was valid. But c'est la vie. All I can do is leave. Like Meta, you don't want me here. That's cool. I will slide out of your DMs. That's fine. But
I just want to mention some of the housekeeping items that we have to talk about today. A lot of Fed speak today, guys, so keep your eye on the market because they have a way of being able to move the market in general. 12 o'clock in exactly 25 minutes. Loretta Mester will be speaking at 12 o'clock, so make sure to keep your eye there. Yeah, Loretta, I know, Katina, man. And then at 1 o'clock, we will have a 3-year Treasury auction. Now, look, we get 2 bulls out of 3 here in importance for the Treasury auction, but the 3-year not as closely followed as the 10, as the 5, as the 20 and the 30. We'll keep an eye on the 3. And the auctions have had less importance. I don't know if they're going to have more importance now with Papa Powell dropping hot lines on Sunday on 60 Minutes. So we'll have to wait and see. The other line, the other Fed speaker, guys, at 1 o'clock, Neil Kashkari, Fed Neil Kashkari, also coming on the mic at 1 o'clock. So we have 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock with Kashkari. And then at 2 o'clock, when the big kahunas come back on, we have Fed Collins talking. So 3 Fed speakers so far, 1 on every hour. And then we don't have any more Fed speakers after that. In fact, we don't have any more economic data points that we need to cover. So again, to reiterate, Loretta Mester, 12 o'clock. 3-year note auction, 1 o'clock. Kashkari, 1 o'clock. And Collins speaks at 2 o'clock. Make sure you are keeping your eye on what this market does during those times. All right, we didn't look at the future, and now we want to have a quick look at the future, Ram, if we're able to here with the NQ. So we did hold 17.6. So if you were smart enough, and I definitely wasn't, to sit here on that level, on the 100-point level on 17.6, you've been rewarded because we did get a nice 62-point move at the high, albeit a bit volatile, wiki up and down, off that 17.598 and a quarter low. So that's the lowest low on the day. However, a couple of things that we have to worry about here with respect to the 17.6 hold. First of all, we haven't even gotten up to that pre-market level of support. That pre-market level of support is at 17.675, a bit of a double bottom there. We need to concern ourselves with that. But look where VWAP is at as well. It's at 7.9, not 7.5. So these 2 levels of resistance coming in to confluence with one another. And I like when that happens, especially when price action and technical indicators are pointing at the same level or pointing in the same direction. You like when those 2 things conflate. So we're going to keep an eye on the short if it makes its way up here. Some levels with which we need to keep an eye on. All right, while I talk about that, let me tell you about this as well. Apple broke 189 on the day. It is having trouble staying above 189 though. 189.02 HOD on the day. However, we're still ensconced within yesterday's price action, both from the low side and the high side on Apple. Look at the high from yesterday on Apple, 189 and a quarter, above a quarter actually, it's about 27. And then the low, much lower than where we are right now, 185.83. So today's price action, very much an inside day. We'll have to wait and see whether the higher low is foreshadowing something and we're able to break through yesterday's high. AAPL trying to break through that 189. And then the last thing here before I send it back to Adara, she just talked about Meta, and I love this Meta look over here, especially if we find a top at that 459 on VWAP. Let's see what we do here. Do we find resistance on Meta at that VWAP level? And by the way, that VWAP level, it's not on its own, Adara. Believe it or not, this is yesterday's closing print. So this white horizontal line and VWAP confluence between these two. If we find resistance, there's a good chance we find it in and around here. Keep your eye on a possible short on Meta, 459, 460-ish area. We'll see how it does.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like this as well, but this is this is gonna be much more your type of trade, right? Because you do those like trend, you get involved in the movement.
Yes, ma'am.
I wait for the movement to die and then I scalp out like a little rat in the garbage, whatever levels have left. And I'm not trying to. It's my style. I'm not trying to hate in it. It's just the style that I find I'm most comfortable with. But yeah, I mean, if Meta has any scraps left for me after that VWAP retracement, I'd be interested. However, I will say I agree with you on that 459, 460 level, especially the close being 459, 41. I also like this that 460 area just above VWAP because that's where we kind of had that low earlier in the pre-market around 7:30 before seeing that resilience and that move back to the upside. So that's also kind of interest to me for my little support resistance reasons. Also, I got out of this IWM. I've just been having a scalpy old time in IWM. Lots of fun in this name. We went long, we went short. Times were had. Yes, the logic. The logic for this, I want to say, because there was, as much as I'm making it sound willy-nilly, there was logic here.
Oh.
I liked these VWAP bounces. I like how we were on VWAP. Got around VWAP. Wish I'd added a little bit of this position, but c'est la vie. Got in here, noticed a little bit of resistance because, we're always calculating, looking at the book. Around the same area here, actually, that 193, around 40. So I got some out here also because that was where we had that double top earlier. So I was going to be very aware of that level. Then I got back in around this earlier resistance. And I said, you know what, worst case, I'm going to start adding here at that 193.60. Should we have this break above that 193.80, that area we wicked into, I'm going to get out. But I actually added there because I was looking at the book and we were holding that area like a glove. So then I got out the first piece here, when, again, just scalpulating, looking at the book here, around areas of previous support and resistance, just kind of this range. Got out some of that 393.30, I believe, and then the rest out when we struggled around that 393.50. So really just scalping, just seeing what levels are. If we have another bounce around VWAP, we know I shall be going long. If we fail VWAP, I shall be going short. And then just ranging with previous areas of support and resistance. Just hanging out in the IWM, making some IW memories, hopefully positive ones, and either way, as always, learning. But yeah, I think, just kind of my, I like this because there's a range and I can hop into it. And that's, trying to take trades like what I was doing on NVIDIA yesterday, going short when a stock is up X number of percentage, especially when that stock is NVIDIA, that's just not my cup of soup. So for quite a few reasons. So I'm just trying to find ranges and not force trades that are not there for me. That's why I liked Meta earlier. That's why I like this IWM. That's also why I like the concept of a Tesla trade. And I'm going to pull this up because I'm considering getting into the Cybertruck. But Model Y, you may ask. Oh, wow. Well, I like this because as you said, there's these slightly lower highs in the 3-minute. On the 5-minute, it's sort of a double top, and we're kind of breaking towards VWAP here. But I think if we get up, I would basically just short this into or around VWAP. If we don't, I'm probably not going to get involved with this because that 183 break, it's kind of no man's land below there, and that is just, as we just said, not really the way I'm comfortable trading. But yeah, nice look for a Tesla trade in some direction. This one, that nice move here off of that 930 right off open. We bounced from 177 into that 184, almost 185. The one thing I want to be cognizant of too, this could be some kind of bull flag, but I think given how long we've been consolidating and the range of this consolidation, not quite sure, but I don't want to make any assumptions or any false moves. We shall stay alert. We shall stay cognizant. Shout out to that name, which is actually a real company reporting after close tonight. We got Confluent and we got Cognizant. So look at that. But yeah, I think exciting times here. Actually looks like Tesla might be breaking, but that is considering hopping into that Cybertruck there.
Big Michael Lloyd, Germany's government says cannabis legalization deal has been reached. You're kidding me. Aside, obviously, from Amsterdam, is that the first jurisdiction in Europe to legalize marijuana? I mean, I personally don't know of any other jurisdiction in Europe other than obviously Amsterdam, which I know it's kind of like a gray area too, by the way. It's not even like fully legal. Let me know if anybody knows. I personally don't know. All right, we're in a little bit of trouble here, guys, on this Meta short. I'm going to give this to the break of 460. This breaks 460, we're going to lose $1.25 over here. Okay, so it is on its way up into 460. So we took this on the idea that we would find resistance at yesterday's closing print, VWAP, and as well the 8 a.m. kind of algo spike low, which all pointed to that area. We ended up losing on this one. We'll probably give back all the profits that we had on Apple, full disclosure. It will probably end up with me red on the day, and we're going to have to fight back out of this one. But we're going to wait and see. The line in the sand on META is going to be that 460. 460 breaks. That's the end of the trade for me on this name. Spain places are legal, says Luke William. I didn't actually know that. Interesting, interesting. I did not know that. So keeping an eye on this meta trade, looking for that VWAP rejection, but it is a bit precarious at the moment because it looks awfully strong. And the reason I say that it looks awfully strong is because look at this kind of sideways consolidation over here, and then you got that big break up. So I did not anticipate that. It still hasn't broken through my line in the sand, though. My line in the sand will be 460 and not a smidge above that. And I'm kind of surprised, too, because the future is on its way down. We are on our way down on the NQ, possibly into 17.6 again. Right? Here we go. We're moving down aggressively on the future. And all of a sudden, we're in the money on Meta. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we did reject there. And there we go, Adara. We're going to spin that as we just did get the fill right there into 458. We're gonna wet our beak here on some profits. I'm going to send it to you so I can put some orders out.
Congrats to you. That's a fantastic look. Yeah, not a meta move there. That's a mega flush here. You know, very happy that you and Meta, you tapped the double heart on Meta there, getting some. I really like that trade. It's a really nice look there. Yeah, also, yeah, I still try to look for some rangier opportunities pour moi. I do like the idea of this kind of downward move on NVIDIA. So if there's, instead of a dip buy, a rip sell, if there's a rip sell opportunity here, I'd be getting involved, and I'm going to look for that rip sell opportunity in that thereabouts, that 677 area. I say that because look where we had a little bit of earlier support. Support can and often does become resistance. So I'm going to be very cognizant of that. Keeping my eye on NVIDIA there in terms of some opportunities. Yeah, congrats. If you're short Meta, congrats. That goes to you, Sharif. He's getting very excited over here. If you're short Tesla, congrats. But I find that Tesla seems to have, for whatever reason, we're really struggling to progress in the short beyond that 1830-ish area. We hit that 1830-ish, and then we kind of get a little bit stagnant. We get a little bit depressed. Although, as I say that, we're trying to fight below here. But yeah, we get to like 1820 usually, and then it's right back up. Not up significantly, mind you, but this could be a local bottom here.
I have to interrupt.
Please do.
Meta is absolutely collapsing off VWAP. I am pleased as punch about this trade. Wowzers, look at that 459, 460 rejection. $5, guys, in like a second off that rejection. Pleased as punch about this. And there it's going down more. Oh, and then we took out everything now, Adara.
Congrats to you, though.
See, this is what happens when you get too excited. You don't know what the hell's going on. Well, at least for me, anyway.
Well, the beaks were wet. The beaks are nice and thoroughly soaked. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, though, about the trade.
I got too excited.
It's a really good look there.
Yeah, it's a good
$5 winner. Like,
yeah, this was a good trade.
You were up in the club with this.
I don't know what the hell I was doing. I thought I had more shares. I didn't. Okay, anyway, whatever. So that meta trade ends up absolutely materializing there. Please, this punch. Sorry to interrupt you there. I got excited.
It's okay. Like, that's way better. Like, that definitely is more meaningful than me just continuing to talk about NVIDIA levels. So, yeah, congrats to you. That's a fabulous look. Yeah, if Meta gets rangy again here, I would get in. But, yeah, I mean, that's why, like I said, you have to know the trades you're comfortable taking. You were like, hey, I like this trade. You took it. Yeah. So congrats to you. And I think that's definitely about knowing your style. As Drake says, know yourself. And so that's certainly what Sharif did here. And it was not, if you're reading this, it was not too late. Were able to get into that move there. Also, IWM coming back onto VWAP. So if she bounces here, we're gonna have to get back in here and try to be besties again, because I do like this range play for whatever reason. I've become glued to IWM. Also, Eli Lilly, still not much to talk about, but I know some people have been discussing Eli Lilly. I think it was Nunya Biz saying that waiting for buyers in Eli Lilly is like watching grass grow. Yeah, this one can move a little bit slowly, although definitely more than 1 million volume, almost 4 million here. Really nice look. Could be a bit of a bottom here at that 696. We hit that area and we coil back up. You know what that's interesting too? Is because I was saying yesterday, 695, and I'm going to actually go to the 5 minutes to talk about this I almost said from tomorrow. Wow, dear. From yesterday, that 695 I was talking about was certainly an area where Eli Lilly turned her life around. And I think the fact that we're back at 696 here, maybe not insignificant. Could be something of note here. The other area to be keeping an eye on, that's 607 or 706. A, lots of chop and churn here. B, yesterday's closing price, 706.20. So I think, you know what I mean, like just really trying to learn as I hopefully grow as a trader, what areas are key, why are they key, and are you seeing it in the chart in addition to what you're seeing here in terms of the actual numbers? I know that's why you like pivot points too, because the idea they do incorporate that closing price is baked in. So I'm going to be watching Lily, what she's doing around that 706. Where is she at? Is she rangy? If so, I might get involved. But yeah, I think really nice here too. Also, this would really not be my kind of trade, so I'm very hesitant about taking it. However, this Tesla holding this 182.30, I might just take this into VWAP. This Doge here, okay. Okay, Tesla, hi Tesla, I see you, girl. I see you, girl. I'm really small position here, but I do kind of want to get involved at this Tesla 182.30, just take it straight to VWAP, should I get there. Because we held this for a while. So I'm pretty comfortable in this trade. If we have a decisive break below 182, I am outie. But yeah, really small position, willing to build should we need to. But like I said, just trying to practice being scalpier, as is my way, being that rat in the dumpster, taking the drags of this Tesla move, hopefully to the upside. Yeah, also IWM kind of making a little bit of a move here at VWAP, so we may have to make an IW move over there as well. What are you looking at right now?
Look, I'm talking to Mungus in the chat. And Fungus Mungus wants me to look at NYCB. That is a hell of a name. I see Neil smirking a little bit. How could you not with a name like Fungus Mungus? I mean, it's just fantastic. By the way, Neil putting in the chat that Micron and AMD are going down. So keep your eye on the chips. The chips, without exception, on my watch list are all in the red. Well, there's one exception, NXPI. But seldom do people trade NXPI. The chips are very red, guys. But let's look at NYCB. This is that New York Community Bank Corp that reported earnings last, I believe, week, and absolutely khwadunked. Yes, it reported earnings on the 31st. And you can see that big drop there from where it was trading at 10.5 until it bottomed out there, say on the 1st. That was, yeah, a cool 47.33% drop. Let's put in the ticker so people can follow along. NYCB. Guys, I got to tell you, not from a trading perspective, but from a fundamental perspective, I heard that this bank had had toxic assets that it wanted to rip off when you want to rip off a Band-Aid in one fell swoop so you can get rid of all the pain and all the discomfort in one pull. That's what this bank did. So it basically realized all the losses in one quarter, so it could just put all those toxic assets behind it and move forward. So apparently, some of the other banks came and made comments about this bank, JP Morgan's, the Morgan Stanleys. Anyway, they're basically backstopping it. They're saying this bank is sound. Make of that what you will. Obviously not financial advice. But the point is, it seems like this move is outdone. However, on the day, Fungus Mungus brings up a really good point. It is down and to the right. We closed out yesterday at that 540. And it has not even tried to test anything. Well, it went up to 550 ever so briefly, and then it's been tanking since then. So big move down the day for NYCB, down 16%, guys. Where do we find a bottom? Well, your guess is as good as mine, because we haven't been down here in a long time. So let's go to the daily, see if we can chart a little bit over here and see where the possible level of support is. And there you go. Not in the past 2 years we haven't been down here, so we got to go to the weekly to find another level, and you can't see anything on the weekly. This might be all-time lows. I have no idea. Let's go to the monthly. And now you're getting into kind of like gray area because, I mean, does a level back in 2000 have any application in 2024? No. So this is all-time lows here for NYCB. We've never been this low in the history of the company as far as this chart is concerned anyway. So nothing for me to chart here. It's a red bottom setup. Remember? I
like that.
Red bottom setup instead of a blue sky setup, guys, where you can find your way to the gates of hell. The gates of hell. Yes, Neil. Thanks for that, Neil. But yeah, there we go. This one, 450 low, trading at 454 right now. Personally, I would be looking to short the pops rather than trying to guess the bottoms here for a flat bottom break. Any pops, I guess, into the 10 moving average, which is the green line on my chart, has sold off, and it's held that level quite well. I have no trade, to be honest with you, and on NYCB at the moment. but we'll keep that on the side chart. Bad day, bad month, bad week for NYCB as it continues to reel off that bad earnings quarter. All right, TSLA, what do we got here with TSLA? It is trying to hold at 182 right now, dipped a little bit below 182. And could this one actually find resistance at VWAP? So we took this bad boy long earlier because it held VWAP. Now, since VWAP has given up the ghost and is no longer a current support level, if we were to trace up to VWAP, does it now act as resistance? So should we be looking for a possible short on a pop into 183, 183 and a quarter on Tesla? I'm going to put a little bit of a notification on my side chart here so that when it gets back up there, I'm alerted and I can make the decision at that time. So Tesla, keeping that bad boy on watch. Let's have a look at what Meta did after that big move down. Retracing a little bit. Please, this punch, I didn't punch back into this short. I would have given up a great deal of my profits. But, you know, this one continuing, yeah, look, it's putting in a higher low.
Yeah.
Right? So it troughed out here. I mean, if we break through VWAP and break through 460, this could be an interesting look on Meta, but you know, we'll have to wait and see if that ends up materializing or not. Now down only 0.33%. Apple is right back at 189. Again, Adara, it is having issues with that level. It's not able to break 189 right now. 189 and a quarter is yesterday's high. So for the moment on AAPL, it's an inside day. We haven't broken below the lows or broken above the highs of the previous day. So, you know, make of that what you will. Let's see what Nimit is saying here. Oh yeah, Nimit, sorry, I promised you I'd look at Snap and I didn't look at Snap. So let's have a look at Snap here for Big Nimit. All right, we're gonna change FANG, we're gonna put SNAP. This one reports today?
Yes, after close,
after
you'll
the
have
bell.
it with Sean on the market recap.
Yes, thank you for that, Adara. Q banner, thank you, Ram. Ram's on point, bro. Yes, Snapchat on the day. Nimit, you know, it's not doing much, my man. Snap, I guess investors or traders are waiting for the earnings because we're not getting much of a move today on Snapchat. It's up 1.13%. It's below VWAP right now. The closing print on Snap, Nimit, yesterday is that 1675. If it finds its way into 1675, I'd be looking long to hold yesterday's close, especially in light of the fact that we're waiting for earnings. I don't anticipate this to break below that unless it has some sort of catalyst. It didn't hold VWAP. The 17 and a third high was immediately sold off. It didn't hold 17 either, so the whole dollar didn't factor in here. I personally don't have a trade on Snap on the day. I mean, the only thing that I'm really seeing here is the 8 a.m. institutional prints. The high is right here where we are right now. So do we hold this level? That's all I really see on Snap, Nimit. I guess we're going to really have to likely wait for tomorrow before we get an outsized move. It is also an inside day today on Snap. We are above yesterday's low and below yesterday's high. Not surprising as traders and investors wait for the data to come out before making a decision about how to take this bad boy. But today it's going to be a range trade for me, Nimit. I won't have anything break out or break down on Snapchat. I'm super interested, though, to see how their digital ad sales do. Now, we saw Google underperform in digital ad sales, but Google's business model is fundamentally different than Meta's. Meta's is social media based, Google's is search based. This is social media. Snapchat, that is. So I want to see, are they going to outperform with respect to digital ad sales, or are they going to go by the wayside like Google? So super interesting today. You know, we don't have too many names that are involved in that digital ad sales world that are on that kind of scale that we can make comparisons between. So Snapchat, even though, you know, you may think of it little as a company and you may not use it yourself, like I personally don't use Snapchat. I have it on the app, on the phone, but I typically don't use it, maybe once a month or something like that. Does this bad boy end up, you know, outperforming? So we'll have to wait and see tonight after the bell. Katina Mint Market Recap Show.
Yeah, he'll be like snapping up those earnings for you. I believe they come out at 410, I believe I saw, 410 or 405, but they'll definitely be early on in that market recap show. So once you get switched over there, Sean is going to give you those earnings in a snap.
Bang.
Right now, I am in this IWM trade, and this is not manifesting in a snap. Let me tell you, dear Lord, I am. The patience is packed in the Samsonite, and I am locking that Samsonite with...
Ram loves Snapchat. I don't know. You didn't write that in the chat? Was that the Chilean Nightmare? That was you? Oh, it was Fabian. Okay. My bad, Ram.
They keep
I
us on our
tuned
toes.
you.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, no, I mean, like, basically, I added to this. We got a nice little sizable position going, the way we hold at VWAP here. I really, basically the plan is if we get to 193.20, I want to piece this out. But IWM is testing my IWM mental stamina over here, or IW mental stamina, I suppose. Yeah, but I mean, we're holding view up so well. I can't complain. I'm getting out if we have the decisive break below that 192.80 because that was that previous low. However, we dipped back in there and then jumped up like little, sardines or something. That was a bad analogy. but the resilience there makes me okay with this for the time being. So, but yeah, I hope she doesn't disappoint me because this looks a little bit double top-ish in retrospect. So we're gonna have to see how she holds up. But right now, I'm not pleased as punch, but I'm not displeased. So there we go. There's not too much to report there. Also, happy I got into that Tesla long where I did. Yeah, but we'll talk about that later because right now we do have, he is real, he is a big deal, and his name is Neil, and he has his real deal right now.
Ram gets us upset when we send it quickly. I can hear her screaming and yelling over there.
Cute.
Come on, Ram.
So much at Dara. That was a great intro to the real deal. Like, we should just tape that and have Adara started out every single time. But what do you do? Look, what do you do when there's a runaway freight train? Pretty much, a stock just gets so far up or down that you don't have levels to work off of. You're not really sure. You don't want to be buying the top. You don't want to be shorting the bottom. You just feel as if something's gotten out of control. However, it's the thing that is giving you the most amount of volume and opportunity as a trader. So you want to be on the name or involved in the move, but it's not giving you the normal setups that you're able to grab. And that's going to happen a lot in earnings season. And I'm going to talk about two in particular here. And one of them happened today on Palantir, and one happened in this earnings season on Meta. So what does it mean? First of all, what does it even mean when you have a runaway freight train? First things first, it's got to be moving outside of the expected range. So, Palantir, after earnings, nobody was pricing in 18% overnight. Double digits, maybe not surprising anybody, but 18% was most certainly not expected by a lot of people. And then you didn't even have a retest of pre-market lows. It just continued to run higher. Actually tagged a 52-week high. So this is what I mean by a runaway freight train. It's exceeding all expectations, velocities there, all that good stuff. I mean, you can forget about its average true range because the ATR, you throw all that stuff out the window on earnings anyways, but it's going to be multiples of that. And it actually outdid its last earnings as well. So you have a lot to suggest that it was trading in much larger range than expected. Now, I'll give you my lesson today because I was in it and out too early, as you can see, and we got to be able to show this. I took 20s long, and at the time, on a $20 stock, taking a couple of longs at 20 into 2050 is a 2% move. On almost every single day, you're going to be very, very happy with that trade. This is one of those days where getting more was incumbent on you as a trader. And the only way that I think you can start to work this when it's making that parabolic move up is to consider alternate execution strategies that are in a scalp basis. And what I mean by that is look at these little micro moves, and when you're playing dips and rips and breakouts, which is what I'm going to suggest to you in a situation like this, you're just going to tighten up stops and look for obvious entry points. And so what I mean is on my 3-minute chart, it finally pulls back. It tries to break an even dollar at 21. So here's the setup. It goes 20, I'm already out when it goes 20.50, but it goes to this $21 level, and you'll see it do this dipsy-do over under, breaks it, goes to 21.10, pulls back underneath, and then when it tries to break that, it's not really a double bottom, but 20.80 was this candle wick here, then holds 20.80 again. When it gets back above 21, You look for the break of the local high, grip it and rip it, set your stop back at the 21 even area. It's consolidated over under at that 21. Just look for a 21.10. You're probably gonna get 11s or 12s long with a 12-cent stop. Now you know the stock is moving enough that it can get to the 50. It can get to the quarter, it can get to the 50. It's got that kind of volatility. But that sets you up to wait for it, let it get some people out at that 21. It's the first red candle on the 3-minute. Then you go long into the re-break. It holds the even dollar. It's a nice little scalp trade. It allows you to capture another 20 or 30 cents in that move. And then just look for the same type of setup again at the 50 level, which was not quite as clean. It did wick back off the 50, re-break the 50 level, go another 20 or 30 cents. So there's ways that you can jump in, not necessarily looking for the 2% moves or the hold all day, but that little entry on a secondary breakout. You don't want to be punching that high the first time, but maybe that second time through where it established some levels for you. And then the other thing you should always consider doing, I always say when in doubt, zoom out. It's very important. If a stock is a runaway freight train, why were we talking about 21.85? Because that was a 52-week high. When it's down around here and it's breaking out, you already know it's well past any expected range that you would have thought would be there, and it's breaking the 20s. The only level up is 21.85. And now obviously anyone can look at that and see this is going to be the top or potential top because there's nothing else on the daily chart. But this leads me to what I love to do when you've got a stock this strong and this crazy, and that is the sympathy play. Now, Palantir knows anytime you have something this strong, you're often going to find something within the sector that is going to move up on sympathy. In this particular case, other AI names started to go. Palantir only has a 5% short float. C3AI has a 37% short float, so in sympathy, this was headed to the upside. And I'm going to tell you why I was short C3AI off of this top right here. Because I was glued to watching Palantir when it was a runaway freight train into that 52-week top. And it was as simple as this. I see the 52-week top, hold on Palantir, it ticks down. Do I have an entry on C3AI, and is it obvious? Answer was yes. Now, you could have shorted Palantir as well. I preferred only to be looking for longs in Palantir. That was my approach. C3I, the sympathy play, made a top, not quite as parabolic, shorted it 10 cents off that high and pull back into VWAP. You could have held it longer. But instead of standing in front of the big, crazy runaway freight train, I just picked something going up on sympathy that showed me a clear level to the penny that we're able to take something out of. Now, when you have runaway freight trains, they're not going to be all as insane as Palantir. You will have some that, I mean, obviously Meta was insane as well. When I say insane, I'm talking about 25, 30%, those types of moves. But sometimes you are going to have a big cap tech name that's going to do its best to be in that range and again exceed all expectations. Now I remember on the day of earnings for Meta, a lot of people had fantastic longs. I thought there was a chance at a gap fill because it was up so much, and you're not used to seeing something. When you get that 15, 20% on a big cap name, it can exceed those expectations. When it made the dip, it didn't quite get as far as I would have liked. But I'm going to take you back to what we were just talking about. Play breaks with tight stops on explosive movement. You've got to keep in mind that when something like this has already moved from 395 and it's going to sit there at the open and be trading at 460, you're up 15%. So even though you have missed a dip of what looks like $8 to $10, which normally that's a big deal on Meta, you've got to understand it's got a wider range at this point. So when it sets you up for the local top breakout, which is right at $460, at the open, you had this wick down and then a 460 top, a 461 break, a pre-market high break at 466. You had all of these little breakouts on the dollar, and there wasn't any red on the 15-minute candle till it got to 475. So much like in Palantir, you go from a mode of my regular trade is to look for the dip buy, catch the bottom, and get the lows. If that's not there for you, then simply take a bunch of scalp trades. Take a 61 into 63. Take a 65 into 66, a 66 into 70. those are the moves that are available to you with relatively tight stops. The explosive opportunity is going to be there, but you've just got to find a way to adjust your parameters, not necessarily get that perfect entry, and join the crazy momentum. A lot of times this is the mentality people reserve for meme stocks. It's a lot easier to do that when it's a short float name like a GameStop or whatever was going, DWAX of the world and Funware and all that stuff. You're generally in that mode of thinking when you're trading one of those types of names. But you've got to understand that on earnings, something like Meta can do this. Something like Palantir can do this as well. And the other way to go back to Palantir, because it's the big volume leader, the other thing you've got to consider, of course, is as fast as it goes up, it can come down that quickly. This is why I kept mentioning the whole notion of get your profits out on the way up on those breakout trades. Because look at, once it got a top, there again is no green candle. So you've got to remember, take profits quickly when you are buying these, they're not all-time highs, but close to 52-week highs. When a stock is past 20% to the upside. When a stock is past 25% to the upside. You don't necessarily want to be holding it for, I'm going to hold it for 10% down and swing it all day long. That's what you can do if you grab the bottom. But if you don't, just join the party with some smaller trades on every little bit of a hiccup that it does a pullback on. You've got to be able to switch gears. I know I stayed in one gear in Palantir. Whether you make or not, you can always do better. So when you've got a runaway freight train, you want to be able to switch gears once you notice it's happening and look for different setups. Little secondary breaks. It's that second break, not the first, when it takes that even dollar. Everyone's going to be trying to chase that first break at the even. It's that second break that can be good for you. It happened on Meta. It's happened on Palantir, and it's going to happen a lot in earnings season. So you want to be able to take advantage of them. And my personal favorite, though, is if you do want to go against the grain of one of these, if you can find a sympathy play, something that is moving adjacent to it, not on their news, but on its own news, or sorry, in sympathy to that news, it can be a little bit safer to set up a trade, because then you've got a leading indicator, and that is your runaway freight train. Palantir AI, it could be a couple of cannabis names, sometimes CGC moves, and you can go over to Tilray and fade that. It can be DWAC, Funware, whatever works out for you. If you can find that, it's a little bit easier than standing in front of the runaway freight train. So that's a runaway mover. You want to take advantage of them beyond those first trades. You want to be able to join that trend and then capitalize when they do pull back. That's the real deal. And Palantir, Meta, it's just the beginning. You're going to have a lot of these as this market continues its bull run. Lots of runaway freight trains.
Very much, Neil. Insightful and informative. As always, make sure to check out The Real Deal with Neil every day on How to Trade at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much again. All right, Loretta Mester, we talked about her getting on the mic at around noon. Here's what she's saying. Let's get to some of her comments so far. Fed Messer says monetary policy is in a good place to assess what's next for rates. Fed can lower rates later this year if the economy performs as expected. If inflation does not fall, Fed can maintain current policy. Yeah, thanks for a profound comment there. Fed Messer says inflation must be moving sustainably lower to open rate cut door. Expects to move back to down to 2%. Inflation over time sees growth and employment moderating this year. Must be attentive to the risk of the labor market will cool faster than expected. Yeah, that's something that definitely got to keep their eye on. Some more lines here. She also says recent news on inflation has been encouraging. Can't be sure last stage of move to 2% inflation will be swift. So far, the Red Sea trouble hasn't rattled supply chains. It would be a mistake to cut rates prematurely based on that. And last but not least, she says wage gains still too high for getting 2% inflation. Higher productivity levels may change wage inflation calculus. That is something we've had our eye on here on the show as well. You'll recall Non-farm payrolls coming in way above expectations last week, and you saw what the market did there. I think the market was predicting 100 some odd thousand. We got 350 some odd thousand. So there is a bit of a disconnect there between what the market was expecting with respect to jobs and what the market is actually producing with respect to jobs, Adara. So we'll keep an eye on all the Fed speak. Fed speak at the top of every hour, 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that you are watching the futures there. And so far, we're obviously below 17.6. We were talking about 17.6 earlier. We are 17.575 below that 17.6 level. All right, guys, today and all week, we are talking about earnings and earnings-style trade. Yesterday, we gave you the basics about what data points you need to have for earnings. I'd love to show you that again, except the Market Chameleon website is still down for maintenance, so we'll kind of just have to remember that lesson from yesterday. So if I tell you something, just kind of take my word for it there. So earnings season can obviously bring in heightened volatility, presenting both opportunities and risks for traders. When there's opportunities, obviously there's money to be made. Today, we're talking about the straddle and strangle option strategies. These are popular choices for traders, allowing traders to capitalize on significant price moves without predicting the direction of the move. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. So what are straddle and strangles? First, we'll start with the straddle strategy. It's hard to say. In a straddle, a trader simultaneously buys a call option and a put option with the same strike price and expiration date, okay? I think I can show you this if I think I have my options chain over here. So just show this quickly. Look at Disney, for example. I can't find out when Disney is, but this is the, yeah, we're just trying to look at what the implied volatility was, but Chameleon is, yeah, it's doing its thing. So look at this, February 16th expiration. So if I'm just giving you any random example, there's a strike price right in the middle there, 95, calls on the left, puts on the right, you'd be buying a call and a put, all right? So that is, it's not that simple, but that's just basically all I'm trying to say. This strategy is employed when the trader expects a substantial price movement but is uncertain about the direction. That means, you know, typically you're unsure how the company is going to perform with respect to earnings, and a lot of companies are like that. Some of these Mag 7 names, you know, save and except for NVIDIA and all these other ones, we're really unsure about how they're going to do. Remember when Meta came with reported results? We didn't know if Meta was going to beat or miss because of what Google had done a couple of days prior with digital ad sales. So you're never exactly sure. And so that's why this strategy helps employ the long side and the short side. By holding both a call and a put, the trader profits from a significant move in either direction. The strangle strategy, very similar to that, but you're getting with a different strike price for the call and the put. So it's a different strike price for the call and the put. A long strangle, involves buying an out-of-the-money call and an out-of-the-money put, okay? This strategy is suitable when the trader anticipates a significant move but is not sure about the direction, and that's the whole point of the out-of-the-money, because you're really expecting an outsized move, okay? And typically when you're out of the money on the call, that means the price is so far removed from that strike price, you're out of the money on that particular option. The goal is to profit from a substantial price swing regardless of whether it goes up or down. Questions or comments there?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, I think what's interesting about these is that you really do have yourself like cushioned in either side, right? So if it goes one way, you're prepared to take those profits. If it goes another way, you can maybe get a little bit of that,
Exactly.
you know, that, I guess the other movement on the other side, that was not English, but yeah, you're kind of, yeah, you're cushioned, you're a little bit protected. And I mean, the thing is, other than we're going to talk about risks and rewards and the pros and cons of this in a minute, but it does, the whole concept is to kind of protect you from risk, which I think is kind of interesting. And you were saying this is something that you've done with stock trading as well.
Yes, we're going to get to that one tomorrow. I'm going to show you how to do this exact same strategy, but with equities, without options. They're both very risky. Before I go on, you have to understand we're giving you really the rudimentary details. It is incumbent upon you not only to learn more about this, but to actually manage your own risk. Guys, everything we're telling you about today, because of the outsized volatility around earnings, is dangerous. You need to make sure that you have appropriate risk management strategies employed when you're utilizing a strategy like this. So the implementation part of this, Adara, before implementing a straddle or a strangle, traders need to identify stocks with upcoming earnings announcements. Surprise, surprise. Analyzing historical volatility and implied volatility to gauge the expected price movement. And that's what I want to show you Market Chameleon for. Market Chameleon will give you 2 data points that are important for our purposes right now. Number 1, it'll show you the previous move off earnings. So we'll say plus 7% or minus 15%, depending on what the instrument or stock did last earnings. And then it's going to give you another data point. It'll tell you what the implied move, the expected move this time around is, plus or minus 10, plus or minus 15. So with those 2 data points, you can make an educated guess about what the stock may or may not do this time around. Again, it's a guess, and you're basically looking at the history to kind of give you some guide, right? And you'll notice some stocks, they have outsized moves on earnings. Some have, more tame moves. And so you need to be cognizant of the characteristics of that particular stock in order to make an educated entry. Okay. So third here in the implementation category is execute the strategy by buying both the call and the put options, whether it's a straddle or a strangle, it's the same thing, and understand that the cost of entering a straddle or a strangle can be higher due to the fact that you got to purchase 2 different options contracts, the put and the call. So the price movement has to be significant enough to cover the cost of both those, because you're going to pay a premium on both. Okay? So before I go on to risk and reward, questions or comments, Adara?
Yeah, no, I think too, there's an interesting kind of question here from Ack in the chat. Don't get the straddle strangle. You get puts and a call and say it goes up. You win. You win in a call, but you've lost on the put. So how do you win overall? So I was reading some notes here too, and it's like you get different priced options. So I'm going to read what I wrote down on this morning, because I was like, it was something I was also like curious about what that face was, but here we are. So basically the idea is with like the straddle, so this one you get equally priced ones. For example, with the call option, you might get a $15 call. Let's say that the earnings are in coming up, and the stocks trading at $15 in April. There's a $15 call option in June with a $2 price, but the $15 put in June is a $1 price. So if you want to straddle, what you're going to do is buy the puts and the calls for a total of $300. So you've got $2 for the puts. It's for $2 for the calls, $1 for the put, times 100 shares for each, and that gives you a $300 total. This is just a total example, right? You just got this from Investopedia. Shout out to them. But also then for the strangle, what you're going to do is if you think the results are going to be positive, you might want less downside protection. And again, of course, do your research ahead of time. But let's say you do your research ahead of time and you're like, I think we're going to be upwards. I'm going to have a little bit less downside move. So the calls would be the same. We're using the same example here. You get those $15 calls for $1 per call, but for the puts, instead maybe consider getting the $12.50 puts for 25 cents a piece instead. So that basically it's like you're kind of the way you're doing the spending is a little bit different, and that's how you kind of mitigate risk there. That's what I see with those notes. But again, everyone's going to have their own strategy. This is just some reading I was doing on that, which I think is pretty cool, and I wanted to share. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that, Adara. Excellent addition. Now, with respect to the risk and reward of this strategy, you need to be cognizant of both the risks. They're pretty, out there. The primary risk is that the stock price does not move significantly enough, which will result in losses from the premium being paid for the options, so it expires worthless, okay? So that's what one of the risks is. Another risk is there's time decay. The time decay can erode the value of the options if the anticipated price movement doesn't occur promptly. This typically isn't an issue with earnings, because earnings, you get that outsized move initially, right away. The algos read the earnings report and they pop up or they pop down. In addition to that, after the algos have reacted, there is, the humans start inputting as well into that. And after that as well, there's also the earnings call, which adds more volatility. And we talked about that yesterday, having to know when the earnings call is. So typically, you do get the move initially right away. And so time decay becomes less of an issue when using the straddle or strangle with an earnings play. Now, the reward. Everybody wants to hear about the rewards. If there is a substantial price movement in either direction, profits can be significant because of the leveraged nature of options. In addition
Profits are maximized when the stock price moves beyond the break-even points, which are determined by the sum of the premiums paid for the call and put options. Again, you need to be able to do the math to make sure that getting into the call and the put simultaneously, and the expected move, because that's how you're going to make the calculation, will amount to more money if it was to trigger. Then you're going to pay in premiums and pay into the actual options contract itself. So make sure to kind of really know the strategy inside and out before employing it. You got to cross your T's, dot your I's. Don't just take my rudimentary explanation as a guide. You really need to do your own homework for this one, guys. I really can't stress that enough. Hit it. There he is. Inform us, Katina, man. Alibaba long 76s. $1.55 in the money on that. Disney long 96.81. $1.10 in the money. Spider short 493.39. $1.20 in the money. Two longs, one short. One more coming, baby, and it's Google, baby. Google short 144.70, literally at the top of the crest, eh? That's literally the top of the crest, yeah.
And then that's only 70 cents.
Oh, that's a measly 70 cents of money. Two longs, two shorts, both printed, baby. Shout out to the Katina man. Keep your eye on the chat. The Katina man is putting his positions there constantly. I see that Diz 96.81 long. You can see that Baba long 76.04, and here comes the salad, baby.
There's tuna.
I like it. Yesterday's salad was really good too.
With some pasta.
Very nice, very nice. Can't wait for that. Mine's in the fridge, waiting for me to consume it.
I like that.
Your, how's IW, Madera?
I don't want to say it's IW murdering me because it's not, but it's giving me a little bit of anxiety here. So basically the plan was, I'm happy with the exit from the long because I did so in a way that made sense. I actually didn't short it here. That was actually an out. This is incorrect. I started shorting it around this area. We are still short IWM. If we get below that 192.80, 192 kind of 70 area, I'm piecing some out. I want to get everything out by the time we get to this 192.20-ish area because I do not like that big spike, Sam, I am, and so I want to get out before we get to that point. As long as we don't go over VWAP, and we did test above VWAP, and then we ran right back down, so I was like, you know what, I'm comfortable with this. The logic for leaving the long was, I don't know if I mentioned this, but either way, if I mentioned it or not, I said I didn't want to make a lower low here from the 192.80. We did. I exited here. So I'm really just watching what we do at VWAP. Coincidentally, also because it's A, because that was an area of a lot of support earlier, and B, we had that 193, so whole dollar. But basically what we've been doing is we've been getting above there and then kind of coming back down. So just going to be super cognizant of that. Just trying different strategies. Like I said, really trying to add to positions. That's one of the things I've been trying to do here as I learn, as I get comfortable. But I'm definitely going to be de-risking some here. We're getting some out as we got above that 193.10 area. I'm just going to watch it. Watch, be patient, wait and see. Not my best trade by any means, but like I said, right, we're going back down above that 193. I don't really, what I don't want is a decisive 193 break, and by that I mean 193, 193.10. We held that 193 like a glove earlier, so I am going to be cognizant of this level, but I'm also trying not to be too hasty. Shout out to the Spice Girls and making trades that make sense for me. That being said, I think we're going to have to make our exunt from IWM here, and yep, there we go. Bye, bye, bye. Shout out to NSYNC. I was not in sync with this trade. And you know what? That's okay. You win some, you lose some. You win some, you lose some. You win some, you lose some. You live and learn. And as Obi says, where's the next trade?
Hey.
I'm not gonna cry over this trade. If it stays valid, if we have a nice push above VWAP again, maybe I'll get back in. But you know what? That's okay. What have you been trading? What have you been looking
you know
at here?
what? I haven't been trading. Well, just the two trades that we've had today on Meta and on Tesla, both profitable. Guys, there is a new small cap gapper du jour making its way onto the scene here, and it goes by the ticker AEY. AEY, sub $1 to start off its life today. In fact, we were at 34 pennies, but boom goes the dang dynamite, and it was halted, and now it is open. It is above $1. Let's see if it holds that $1 level. AEY. Oh, geez, I just put the ticker. It's going to halt to the downside now, or looked like it was going to. That was a false halt right there at 95 pennies. So this one not holding up above a buck for now. In order for me to get confidently in this one, we're going to have to maintain that $1 level here, and we're not doing that at the moment. So I'd rather this one clear 109, me miss out some profits before just participating in this one and watching it possibly retrace back into 67 pennies here where VWAP is. So I'm not going to jump on this bandwagon right away, but it is up now 183%. And there's another one making a big move as well. NVIV. Oh my goodness, they're both sub $1 Adara. NVIV. My scanner is absolutely lighting up with these small cap gappers du jour. For whatever reason, this is taking forever to load. Here we go. NVIV up 310% on NVIV. In Vivo Therapeutics is the name of this bad boy, and we're going to talk about its flow in just 1 second here. Let me flip to the 1 minute so we can see this a bit better. So NVIV is at 2.7 million share float. That is tiny. The market cap even smaller, Adara, $2.8 million market cap. Ooh. This one also started its life sub $1 and just did the dance here with $1.50. This one's halted once, twice to the upside, but it is sub $1 right now. So the same thing applies for AEY and NVIV. They both have to hold up above $1. AEY is above $1, and here it goes again. Here comes 115, 113 right now high on AEY. Sorry to jump between these two, but you know how the small cap gapper life is, baby. They just make moves, and you're gonna have to go with the flow. AEY seems to be the one that's gonna hold up $1 for now. It is the one doing the dance above $1. Just got up above that halt level at 109 with a new high a day at 115. I'm gonna be watching these ones. Shout out to Nimit, because I know he was looking for small cap gappers, and he's got two now. Midday, one up 217% and the other up 305. Take your pick. They're both pumping.
Yeah, that AEY I really like. It has a very punny name. It's Advantage, which I enjoyed. So ADD Vantage. Although, you know, they're probably not enjoying that they got delisted from the NASDAQ, because that was what that was about yesterday. But you know what I mean? Nice movement on both of those today. I will say it's interesting too. I think I really noticed, I was talking about how it was harder to find small caps today. I did also notice this penny stock trend today. They were all, you know, lots of these little baby penny stocks running around today in regards to small cap world, or in small cap land, as you call them.
Yes, ma'am.
So certainly something of note here. I'm trying to get involved in this little Tesla short, because Rejection City over here around that 183, and we're around VWAP. I have, you know, I'm sitting pretty just below that 183 area, trying to get involved in this trade, but we'll see if I'm allowed entrance. If I am, if Tesla invites me into the Cybertruck, because I know, you know, in the real Cybertrucks, they do not let you see the inside. Shout out to Sharif, who went and told us that. So we'll see if I get involved in this trade, if I'm, you know, if I'm admitted into this trade. But I basically 182.99s. That's where I'm interested. If we break above that VWAP area, 183.30, I am outie. I am saying au revoir. I am getting the heck out of Dodge there. But I mean, I like the idea of this short support becoming resistance. I'm getting part of this out at that 182 30-ish area. So ironically, where I ended up entering that the long earlier, and then I'm getting the rest out at that bottom 181 50s thereabouts. We have been invited into the Cybertruck. We are in the elusive exclusive Cybertruck, and so I'm going to get these little beak wetters ready to go here, because I want to make sure there is some profit happening. No, I'm all good. I just typed one in. I think Tesla's going to be a little bit slower to go down this mountain, so we're going to give her some patience. But yeah, what else am I looking at? I mean, Meta's doing something. The 3-minute looks a little bit rangier than what I'm seeing in the 5-minute here, but looks a little compression-y. Anything? How is it going, Sean?
The Katinaman is printing on the SPY, short 493. That's a second short on the SPY. Say it again? Just right now. Just right now. He just got short on the SPY right now, and for good reason. Because, well, I know he's trading the SPY, but you know how I look at the NQ. And the NQ just made its way back into 17.6 Ram, and then it rejected 17.6, and it's on its way back down again, 17.587. This is what I'm talking about. So you had that break initially of 17.6. We went down to 17.560, popped back up, tried to break above 17.6, 17.608, and Huadunk went the dynamite all the way back down, 17.581. Keep your eye on the future today. Definitely looking a little bit lower. The NQ is down 0.61. The ES essentially flat, 0.02% in the negative for the ES. But yeah, definitely keep your eye on those bad boys. AEY is absolutely pumping, guys. Here comes $1.25 on AEY. This one holding the dollar beautifully. I was talking to Nimit in the chat. Nimit's like, look, man, I'm not going to get involved in AEY. It's a bankruptcy name, and I completely respect that, Nimit. You want to stay away from that heat, but he is looking at NVIV, but that one is on my S list, and you know why? Because it's sub $1. We need to get above and hold above a buck, and then maybe we can look for a dip trade off a buck. This topping tail candle, though, on AEY, if it was to close that way, would look awfully dangerous. Now, let me tell you something else about AEY that I don't like. For a $1 name, it's awfully spready. Why is there a 3-penny spread on a dollar name that's done 24 million shares? So right now it's 1 penny, but that's not how it always has been. I've been watching this bad boy for about 5-6 minutes or so, and sometimes it opens up as wide as 3-4 pennies. Like right now, why is it 3 pennies? So this one, keep your eye on it. It tends to get a little spready at the extremes. That may not be, you know, a big deal. Oh, Sharif, who cares about a 2-3 penny spread? Well, it's contextual. A 2-3 penny spread on Meta is fantastic. On AEY, small cap gapper worth 2.8 million market cap. No, it is a big difference. And especially if you're getting big boy shares, you get in, you get out, and that just getting in and getting out can cost you 50, 60 bucks. So you really need to understand the spread when it comes to these small cap gappers and how they play an important part. Watching this one, ideally, I'd like a move into $1 to hold that $1 level. We'll have to see what this one presents us with respect to opportunities. But right now, holding above $1, but this candlestick pattern over here, rejecting that 1.25 looks a little bearish. We're going to keep our eye on it, though. Definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adair.
No, sorry. Yeah,
no. I'm done.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I added a little bit to Tesla at VWAP because we got up to VWAP and then we held it and it was like, So I added a little bit there, again, just trying to do so when it makes sense to do so. Same idea for beak wetters. That has not changed. Just the amount of the beak that will be getting dunked has changed a little bit. That's really the only difference there, just adding a little bit to that position. However, I would like to see us, decisively get below that 182.80 because that seems to be, for whatever reason, the area with which we are having a bit of a battle. I'm also, the other one I'm watching, although this is going to be a lot less harder for me, or a lot harder for me, sorry, to read this range, is NVIDIA. We had this big giant 5-minute candle of recovery, and if you got that long 664 to 668, congratulations. We had that chop and turn ahead of time. We had that nice move down. I don't necessarily want to short this off that 668 area. However, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't incredibly tempted. And I say that because we had that big move up, and now we can't really sustain it. However, NVIDIA is maybe the queen of the bamboozlers. Even amongst an already bamboozling Mag 7 lineup, I would say NVIDIA might be the most bamboozling, in my humble opinion, at least as of late. She's like, I couldn't take 700 decisively, but she took 600, she took 500.
Remember our week on gaps?
Yes.
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
You remember that? What did I say to you when I came up to you when you were at the big desk today?
Sharif was like, look at NVIDIA, because I was thinking about this too, because Sharif said, if you take a level pre-market, you may be less likely to decisively hold it throughout the day, right? And so that our key level specifically. So we're talking about that NVIDIA 600 with regards to that. When we first took 600, as Sharif so astutely pointed out, we had a little bit of a hard time holding 600 because we broke it in the pre. Then eventually we did hold it, because if you remember 500 broke right sharp at 9:30.
Yes, ma'am.
But it opens, Sean and Neil are on it. The NVIDIA runs up from, I think, to like 520 or something in the first day. NVIDIA was crazy. But
what happened at 600 though when we took 600?
Exactly, 600 we struggled with because we initially took a pre-market. Same with 700. We fought for 700, in NVIDIA yesterday. It kept trying to get there. Alas, it could not. Takes it pre-market, can't hold it. Now we are below 670. So I think, pretty key. And I really appreciate you for saying that. I think it's a lesson that I've really been keeping an eye on. Yeah, and I think really important there for sure.
Yeah, and something that I didn't know specifically until I had to prep the notes for that show. There is a higher chance of failure if there was a key resistance level that was not broken during regular market hours that ends up getting broken in the aftermarket or in the pre-market. NVIDIA did both. It broke it in the aftermarket and it continued in the pre-market. And look what the bell did. it tanked it. Like, what, almost 40 bucks to the downside. More, because we were coming from a higher level. We were coming above 700. It was like 709 and change. Today's low, 63 on the dot, 663 on the dot. So keep your eye on key levels. Make sure that you're looking for them to break during regular market hours rather than taking them before or after market hours. It's not a hard and fast rule because you'll recall second time around, NVIDIA, when it failed 600 initially because it took it in the pre, it took it again in the pre the next day, but this time it didn't tank. So it was the first time around that where it took that key level initially, it ended up tanking off that level. So keep that some food for thought. Curtis the Conqueror. I like this comment here. I saved it in the chat. He goes on, because today we're talking about options. He goes, I prefer a diagonal or calendar spread to earnings overall, but I will play a strangle sometimes, sell a very far out of the money option, and buy a closer one for the following week. Shout out to you. Thank you for commenting and adding some color into the lesson today with respect to options. We're talking about straddle and strangle. Adara will get to that on the top of the hour once we're at 1 o'clock. Guys, AEY though, we were talking about this one holding the buck. Nuh-uh, not today anyway. There goes $1 south again. We got to $1.22 high, but we were not able to hold a buck. So if you were looking for that dip trade like I was at that buck level, you were not rewarded. So essentially, in this case, I was looking for a buck, but as my friend Neil likes to say, I need to get that on the back end. So it's got to show me that it is going to hold that dollar level. The dollar is going to be support, and then we can start looking at getting it on the curl back up. If that means leaving some money on the table because you didn't get in at the lowest possible price, so be it, right? We want to participate, not anticipate with these bad boys. So AEY south of $1, up 175 points right now. I'm personally going to wait for it to reclaim and hold above a buck before I ever put an order out for this bad boy. But keep your eye on AEY and VIV, both midday small cap gappers that really are moving quite aggressively, all coming from like 30 some odd pennies. So they didn't show up on my scanner until later. They got to cross 85 pennies to show up on my scanner, Adara, because I filter everything below that. Now, let me tell you about this one too. Palantir is the gift that keeps on giving. It is holding VWAP quite nicely. Now, look, that initial move down off that 2185 high, we did break VWAP, okay? We did. And then we acted, VWAP started acting as resistance at this point. Look at over here. Look at this. We break down, and then we're straddling VWAP from the south side. But then that doesn't last very long. Now we straddle it from the north side, and now we're moving away from it. So VWAP right now on my chart, around 2080. We're trading right now on Palantir at 21.25. So this one's starting to curl back up. Doesn't make a high day touch. We'll have to wait and see. But lots of strength today on the Alex Karp-led company. 27% to the good. And this is what you need to know. This is why it's moving. You see this and you see the time, 4 o'clock. You know exactly what that is. This is an earnings winner, baby. And it is headed to the upside on the day. PLTR on my small cap gapper charts today, but Palantir is not a small cap. I mean, what's the market
like
cap?
37
here?
bill, I thought.
46 billion, Adara. With the recent price action today, it's gained some market cap. This is a big company, man. 46 billion. This is as big as super microcomputer. It's bigger. Huh. Yeah, can you believe that Palantir is $10 billion larger than SMCI? SMCI is 35.5. Palantir, 46 1/5, big boy company.
Wow, and I think that shows too. I was having this conversation with you and Neil, where it's like, you don't judge a company on how expensive its stock is. You judge the size based on market cap. And I think that's a huge lesson because I was like, oh well, like NVIDIA having a much higher stock than all these other Mag 7s, but market cap wise, Apple obviously taking the cake there, or that whole group, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon as well, taking the cake there. So it's not, it's about the market cap. There are no small parts, only small market caps. I guess the analogy I would use there, kind of weak. Also, yeah, that Palantir does look a little VWAP holdish. It's behaving like a small cap too, which might be how it decided to finagle or bamboozle its way onto your small cap gapper list. Do you have a market cap limit for your, or like I guess small cap gapper list?
That's actually a really good question.
I was trying to figure out why it would be there.
I was told initially that small cappers are between whatever, like 1 million up to that $200 million, and then you have like that mid cap between 2 to 5, and or not even, a small cap, excuse me, they're micro caps, sorry, micro caps. Micro caps between 1 to about 50, small between 2 to like 500, then mid from 500 million to like 2 billion or something like. I don't know, everybody has their own little definitions. It doesn't really make a difference to me if it's low floater, then that's really all I look for. But look at this one, Scott H bringing Save to my attention. Save having itself a decent day today, 12.8% up into the right since 9:30. Good look today for Save. This one was Spirit Airlines, obviously been beat up as of late after the dissolution of its merger with JetBlue was prevented by a court. Trying to retrace a little bit right now, up almost 13 points on the day. I want to see how the 7 does, Scott, because initially we were topping out here at 7. You had all these wicks into $7, all of which rejected. You retrace back into about 680, and then you get the eventual break of 7. So if we could come back down, maybe and hold 7, that would be an interesting entry for me. But for now, I'm going to have to, I don't want to chase this, obviously. You guys know I don't like to chase these bad boys. But good luck today on Save as it continues to head up. And yeah, you kind of feel bad for the company because it was trying to organize its future around that merger, and then that the kibosh got put on that. William Knight. And yet Palantir only made $95 million in profit in the quarter. That market cap is overvalued. Look, you're entitled to your opinion, and you may absolutely be right, but you know how this AI wave has a habit of really pushing these prices higher as people do anticipate this to be margin changing, balance sheet changing AI. The amount of productivity here that you're going to realize, maybe that's what's really being factored into the price. I have no idea. So keeping an eye on these markets. I'm also keeping an eye on the NQ, which has made its way again above 17.6. A fake follower just followed me. Pretending to be Sean. So make sure.
Fake Sean's follow me too.
Yeah, make sure if you're getting that person following you right now, just block that because I'm just letting you know.
There are real Seans. There is the real Sean, and oh, there he is. There's the real Sean.
There he is. Fake Sean. Fake Sean. All right, guys. No trades for me right now. I'm keeping my eye on these markets. These Mag 7 names are awfully stagnant to the side here. Not really a breakout or breakdown between them. I'm talking about the Mag 7 names. So I'll keep my eye on these markets, and then maybe we can bamboozle a trade in a short while.
Yeah, I know. I know Chef Joe and some other people mentioning there is an auction at a bond auction at 1.
Yes.
So that is very much coming up on the horizon. Just because I forgot about that, so I wanted to put that out there. Also, I have to shout out a couple comments in the chat. So for one, James Dell saying participate in the move you anticipate, or I'm paraphrasing that slightly, but I think that's true, right? Like you have anticipation, you have a plan for a reason. Make sure you participate in what you've planned or what you anticipate. And that's what I tried to do with this Tesla here. Although I will admit, we did fat finger out part of this trade because that's what I do. I have way more fat finger moments than are plausible for one person to have. And, we're document them all in the midday, but you know what? That's okay. Still part of the position. Trying to get it out of that 182.70 because as much as I like this inability to break VWAP, I also am scalpulating. I'm watching what we have here on the book, and we are really struggling at that 182.70. So I'm trying to take everything out, what I didn't, fat finger out earlier. I'm trying to take everything out around there. Also, Neil's spitting some really hot fire in the chat. I don't want to chase because the move may be over. So shout out to anyone who's watched Dawson's Creek or who knows that theme song. We're going back to 97. And I think, really, really an important thing to keep an eye on too, and something to remind, and that's why I kind of like ranges, right? Because you're playing within this discernible area. I think, something I really struggled with and still struggle with, and that's why I kind of try to avoid trend trades for the most part, is because you don't always know when the move has run out of steam and how much power it may or may not have. So I think that's really key, and I also just enjoyed having that to the tune of the Dawson's Creek theme song because why not? So shout out to Neil, shout out to Dawson's Creek, much appreciated there. Also, speaking of ranges, once we get out of this Tesla, once we hop out the Cybertruck, I still kind of like the respect that IWM is showing to its little levels. So we have that right below VWAP area up to about that 193.20, 193.30. I have not made a decision yet because I want to be watching the book a little bit more. However, if we hold at that 192.86 area, maybe we go long. If we fail it, I'm not getting involved because I want to wait for my defined ranges, but I definitely like the concept of what is happening here. And I think, I just trying to find range trades, trying not to force trades. Not my finest trading day today or yesterday for that matter, but just trying to find new trades. As Obi says, where's the next trade?
Yes, ma'am.
Not trying to get too down, shake it off. Shout out, unfortunately, to Taylor Swift on that. And just trying to, make new moves and let the market tell you what it
begrudgingly.
wants you to do. Yeah. Yeah, but
Dara
that's
is
main trade.
not the biggest Taylor Swift fan. So
Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm not even in the top 100%. No, I'm off the chart there. But
that's all good.
there we go. How is save going?
It's moving. It's trying to hold above 7. Not involved in it yet, Adara. I'm definitely looking for a trade at the moment. I don't see anything that I necessarily like. What I do see is some weakness here on the likes of Softy and the likes of Amazon. So Softy's been putting a 403 flat bottom for whatever reason. Have a look at all these consolidation touches here off that 403, let's say 403 and 2/3, 403 and a half. All the while putting in lower highs sequentially, especially this rejection off the yellow line. The yellow line over here is the 20 EMA on my chart. Every pop into the 20 EMA has sold off. Now that may or may not have anything to do with the actual moving average itself or just the succession of lower highs that it's putting in. It is coming back down into that low consolidation area at 403 and a third. So Microsoft having, what could end up being a flat bottom break. I'm more suspicious on that to see if we actually get that. What's up, Katina, man? What are you printing on? He's short again, 493 Spider. Spider short. 3 times in the last 20 minutes. It's a rinse and repeat type trade, baby. Shout out to the Katina man for taking the future short. I'm keeping my eye on the future. We're dancing at 17.6. We haven't cleared it to the top side or haven't rejected it either. If I can show this chart over here, if we're able to. Raymer chart. At this level over here, we haven't given up the ghost that aggressively on 17.6 yet. So I'm gonna wait before I jump into anything here, futures related. But I am keeping my eye on that level. It's an important level. The other one that we were talking about, the Amazonian, all the way down, rejecting, lo and behold, off that 20 period as well, and it is putting in a bottom right here of 167 and 2/3. Its life started out at yesterday's close yesterday, which was 170 and a third. Now we're all the way down to 167 and 2/3 with the low there. So Amazon also presenting you with some weakness. And then that 189 rejection on AAPL. Sell the frowny face, Michael Noss says. This one's putting a bit of a frowny face around the top over here, looking to move down. But keep your eye on this consolidation top on Apple. Look at this consolidation top over here at 188 and a third. If we make our way down from 188 and a half, look for possible support between 188 and a third and 188 and a quarter where VWAP is, so that we could find some support here on Apple. This could be an interesting trade. Apple definitely outperforming the other Mag 7 names today to the long side. So if it comes into that key support level, I may be interested in wetting my beak on a possible trade here at 188 third, 188 and a quarter. We'll keep an eye there. Tesla, I'm just going to review this one quickly here because we had a really good trade on Tesla to the long side today. Took it from that 183.20s and then we rode it nice for like almost $2 into that 185 and a quarter. But then since that time, it has broke down below VWAP. Now it's straddling VWAP as resistance. So initially using VWAP as support. Now, surprise, surprise, using VWAP as resistance. A bit of a range, though, here right now as we kind of trend sideways at 183 or just south of 183 on TSLA. Google, though, Google looks like, it's starting to break down here. Just went negative on the day. Lower highs, lower low, a bit of a downward channel here on Google as it breaks down below that 143 and 2/3. That was yesterday's closing print. Now we just made a new low of day at 143 and a third. So, I'm mentioning all these levels. I don't like any of these trades, though, personally. I'm going to wait for Apple to come into my level at VWAP or this consolidation top, or it's going to have to be an outright rejection or a claim of 17.6 on the future. Those are the two trades I'm looking at right now, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly lots moving around. I see what you mean, though. It's like hard. It's one thing to find something moving, and especially, you know, another to find something you want to enter and that makes sense for you for your plan, right? Because we talked about having certain trading strategies, like that meta move, that fall from grace at VWAP was spectacular. And I even said, I was like, you know, I like the look, but I'm not going to take it because it's not my style.
Fair.
You took it and killed it. So I think, you know what I mean? It's you crushed that meta trade. No, I mean it. So right. So I think it's really about knowing what's moving, but also knowing what you're comfortable with taking. And so I think that's why, you know, that trade worked out splendidly for you. And you were pleased as punch, and I was pleased as punch for you. So there we go. That's just kind of my review there. NVIDIA, you know, I feel like NVIDIA is sprinting, and maybe I'm just like more jogging or something, because, you know, I don't want to chase the mood or the move, as you know, Neil brilliantly put out with that Dawson's Creek theme song parody earlier in the chat. I don't want to chase because the move may be over. So throw it back to that.
You're too young to know Dawson's Creek.
I watched Dawson's Creek.
Oh, you know a lot of stuff outside of your age range, man. Like, okay, hold on. Without giving away your age, because you know that's your personal information. Dawson's Creek was made before you were born, correct?
It ended after I was born. It started before I was born.
That's
I think
what
I was born midway through.
That's what
the
I
life
figured.
of
It
the
was
show.
around that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I mean, so but I appreciated that. I did say that earlier, but I was like, you know, you were away for that, so I was like, let's repeat that for Sharif. But yeah, what a theme song and what a move here at NVIDIA. Like we said, know how you trade. I like ranges, and I like that we're picking back up where we had that little move down and then a nice burst up here. We just got filled. Very happy, pleased as punch here. If we have a decisive break below that 67.50 area at which we were kind of chilling out and troughing out, I shall be exiting. But I would like to hold. I would like to get out by this 670 area because I like that beautiful look. I think this is a nice look. And I think, you know, again, this is kind of, as much as it is a little bit harder because it is NVIDIA and she runs like nothing else. You know, there are levels here, right? And as someone who likes ranges and I like little areas to set my peak wetters just so, I think this trade provides me with those opportunities. And you know, the levels are kind of pre-built, which I like because that's what I kind of get stressed out with the whole like hodl thing, like hold on for dear life, or, you know, letting it run. That kind of scares me because like, what if it runs off without me? But here it's like I have levels set in stone. I can just, you know, wait for these. Again, they might not always come in, and that's where the scalpulation comes in, but they have the potential to come in, and at least I have like profit takers set out, so it's a little bit, I find it to be a little bit more of a, not relaxing trade, but a trade that I'm more comfortable with.
Cool. I didn't even know that HODL was short for hold on for dear life.
It's a big
I love
thing in the
these
GameStop
like,
movie, yeah.
Yeah, really,
like HODL, like HODL, yeah.
No way. Oh, well, that shows you that I haven't watched it, so I still got to watch that. HODL, the Katina may say HODL. I know, I didn't actually know about this. It's a new ETF?
Yeah, it's one of the Bitcoin ETFs.
What? HODL, the Katina man says, yeah, it is. Cypherpunk Holdings. Oh, so yeah, it's a VanEck Bitcoin ETF. Okay, sorry, I was looking at the wrong exchange there. Yeah, VanEck Bitcoin ETF, it's on BATS. All right, guys, I'm watching the future here because we're really we're touching 17.6, rejecting it. Coming above 17.6 and then dropping below. Look at this consolidation area here near 17.6 on the MNQ March contract. Watching here to see if we're able to hold or reject this level. I don't care either way. Just has to choose a direction, and then maybe we'll participate here on this futures trade. But for the moment, I don't see anything that I like, and I'm sorry for people that were looking for my positions. We've taken 2 positions today, one on Tesla to the long side, one on Meta to the south side, both profitable. I don't like anything right now, so I'm gonna pack my patience until I do like something, and then we'll punch into it, and I'll let you guys know right away. By the way, I'm just seeing this right now. Rumble is up 10%, 10.25% again. Yeah, RUM continuing to print. Look at this move up on Rumble. Let me show you the 1 hour here on the hourly on Rumble. This is the hourly on Rumble. We are very much at local highs here, guys. We haven't been up to this level on Rumble in a bit. And yesterday, we closed out at that 706 area. Now the high of day, a cool $7.98, up 10.42%. As I was just saying that it went down a little bit, but that's fine. It is rejecting that $8 level, not able to break through 8. Technically, the high of the day, just 2 pennies south of 8, 7.98. Now coming down into 7.84. It has held this yellow line. The yellow line, the 20-period EMA on my 5-minute chart. The dips into the 20-period have all been bought up so far today. Do we get that same pattern even though we're at that $8 level, which could be the whole dollar psychological resistance that we encounter sometimes on these names. So watching Rumble doing real well today and has been for multiple days now. If it presents an opportunity at a key level, I won't shy to punch long. Where am I looking? Well, you guys know I'm not going to chase this, so it's got to come into key support level for me to get interested. And this crest here looking real tasty if it does come into that level. Where's that crest? 7 2/3. So about 760 to 765. If it makes its way down there, I could definitely be intrigued to take a long here on Rumble for at that former area of resistance and what you would anticipate to be a current area of support. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put an alert at 765. It makes its way down there. I want to know about it so I can make a decision about whether to take this bad boy along. But I may miss out on the trade because, like I said, it's been holding this yellow line all day. That yellow line is the 20-period moving average, and it looks as if it might hold it again as it dipped below it. And now we're getting a bit of a hammer candle through the north side of it, back up to 786 here on Rumble. Keep your eye on Rumble. It's presenting multiple opportunities. It is liquid. It's not bad liquidity today. About 7.25 million shares done. Not like, you know, an amazing small cap gapper that might do 100 million shares, but just enough here to maintain a tight spread and allow you to get in and out without danger. So keeping my eye on that, I'm watching the future come down again off 17.6. So looking like we might, you know, not be able to hold 17.6 today, but not really rejecting it with any vigor, not like a 20-point drop. We're talking about plus or minus 10 points here to the north side or the south side on the future at 17.6. So right now below it, nothing for me right now, keeping my eye on these Mag 7 names, as well as a select few small cap gappers that I have on my side chart here, none of which I like to the long or short side. Going to keep looking and seeing what is popping off. If you guys have any ideas or want me to look at anything for you, make an analysis, throw that in the chat. I'd be more than happy to do that. Thanks, Dan, for reminding. 1 o'clock is the bond auction. We talked about the 3-year auction today at 1 o'clock. We'll see what kind of market reaction, if any, we get from this. The 3-year I don't follow on my platform, so I don't have a comparator. So when we get the results of the auction, the yield that is, I don't have a comparator to see what it's currently trading at, so we can see, you know, whether it was met with more exuberance or less, and make an assessment like that. Let's go ahead and have a look at what the previous print was on the 3-year, and that was 4.105. I don't know what it's trading at right now. I only follow the 10, the 2, the 30, and the 5. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm still getting a clocking emoji on the actual print, so we'll wait. Usually it takes about 3-4 minutes for us to get the result of the auction, but keep in mind, 1 o'clock, 3-year note.
Yeah, also 1 o'clock, you know, we time for the lessons. We're going to be transitioning back into that. In the meantime, I will provide an update in NVIDIA. And it's not positive. It's not a win video. I will put it that way. And we are currently, we are out of the trade because we fell below where I was comfy. I added a little bit because we held at that like above that 667 really nicely. And then we just decided we were not going to hold that. I got out around that 66 area, that area that, funnily enough, I know Sharif was saying at one point it was the high of day at NVIDIA and it was spooked off that 666. So a bit of a spooky season for that name there. Yeah, certainly not a win video. So now we are out video, and I have no intention of getting back in. I'm going to be really honest. It has been rough going for me today, with the exception of some of those earlier IWM trades. But you know what? Learning curves exist, and certainly I am in the middle of one. I feel like, you know, I've been like thrown out of Cybertruck and into the wild, but that's okay because there's nowhere to go but up from today. Let me tell you, and I'm you know, not going to be negative here. Staying positive and just trying to find new opportunities, and especially a little bit hard today when everything's moving a little bit willy-nilly as someone who I prefer ranges, but you know, that's all right. Just gonna, where's the next trade? Keep on going. But for now, and please interrupt me when the auction comes out, we can restart the lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to let everybody know that Save is absolutely pumping it there. 15% now on Save, holding $7 to a T. Shout out to you, Scott H. Good call on that one. Save continuing to go up into the right aggressively.
Yeah, no, for sure. Also, some people saying that AMC breaking up. So I'm just going to mention this here. AMC moving up nice here. Yes. Hold My Beer saying this is well, Pun Queen, pay attention to me, please. LOL, AMC break-in. A couple people mentioning this one, and thank you very much, appreciated there. But yeah, I mean, also interesting too, it has an upward trend, but the way it's holding this 90 EMA is really fascinating to me. You know, Obi talking a couple weeks ago about how certain levels are magnets for stocks, and this, for whatever reason, this 90 EMA, nice little trend line point of interest here. I think this is a really nice move. I know some people in the chat chattering about AMC, so congrats if you're involved in this trade. And yeah, sorry for the wait there. Hold My Beer. Really nice look here for A to the M to the C. But for now, it is time to chat about these options, the Strangle and the Straddle. So basically, you know, this is earnings season because it can be so volatile. It's nice to have a little specific strategies. And Sharif's going to take us through one of his own strategies tomorrow, which I'm really excited to hear about. But for now, we're going to talk about a bit of a similar one, specifically with options. You know, Danielle Shea will really great as well at talking about her option strategies going into earnings. I think that was something that I have learned a lot about. I believe she was on yesterday talking about that, so always check that out as well. But I think one thing definitely of interest here are these straddle and strangle. So for the straddle strategy, what you're gonna do is, or what, not what you, but any trader they'll do is they'll buy a call option and a put option with the same strike price and the same expiration date. And so what you use this more when you expect a certain price movement, a significant price movement, but you really don't know about the direction. So that's why, you know, Sharif was mentioning Market Chameleon, unfortunately, has turned colors on us and will not load. But that is a really good example how you can see implied move. And they say, you know, they explain how they come to the implied move as well. Oh, it's open up now, so that's nice.
About time. I was about to use a...
I could tell.
Yeah. Here it is. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'll just keep it up whenever you want to reference it. Just tell me.
Appreciate that. So yeah, if you look here, we have the expected move, and if you go to the little eye on expected move, it kind of explains. Yeah, so here it's derived from. It actually is involving options too, which is interesting. It comes from the front month options expirations implied straddle value, and so it represents the expected move in either direction. So you can maybe use this when you're planning, but I think you know that shows literally with the straddle what it's happening is it's straddling in either direction. You want to have a little bit of wiggle room in either direction. That's when you're going to use the strategy. So now I'm going to use an example courtesy of Investopedia. So let's say you want to trade a stock and it's trading at $15 in April. I guess it's April, and you know earnings are coming up, and you want a $15 call option for June because this one is a $2 price, and then the $15 put in June is a $1 price. Now you want them both at $15 because for the straddle you want to have exact same price, exact same strike price. That's what's really important for the straddle versus the strangle, which we will get to in a momento. But basically, how you would do this straddle is you'd buy the puts and the calls, and you'd have your total price, and you'd factor into that price, same amount of shares. Let's say you want 100 shares per contract, so it'll be 300 total because you got of the call options, which are $2. You got 100. You got 100 of those, thank you, and you got 100 of the call opposite. 200 in calls, 100 in puts. There you go, $300 total. So that's, I think, I like looking at that, mathematically, how should you do the straddles? Now, someone was asking a really good question in the chat, which was also a question I had earlier, and we love questions in here. We love, learning and hearing all this. And I learn a lot from the questions people ask as well, right? Because sometimes you don't know you have a question until other people ask it. But I remember someone was asking, well, how do you make money on that? Well, one interesting thing, too, is to talk about the strangle strategy. Because what's interesting with strangle is that you actually are using different prices for the calls and the puts. Depending on what side you're more comfortable, we're going to have movement in. And so a long strangle will basically involve buying an out-of-the-money call and an out-of-the-money put. And this is going to be more suitable if you do anticipate a significant move, but you're a little bit more confident what direction you think it's going to be. Like for Tesla, I think a lot of people were assuming downside on this, and I believe Danielle Shea talking about this as well.
Yes.
Again, shout out to her, fantastic options trader, and I, as someone who does not know a lot about options, I always find her segments very informative, especially with regards to earnings and options, which are two things I'm realizing increasingly are very much entwined. And so again, with our example here, let's say that we still, have the $15 calls and puts. But so you'll still buy your $15 calls, $2 a call. Instead of buying your $15 puts for $1 a put, maybe you want to buy a $12.50 put for 25 cents a put. Now, why would you do this instead? Because it's going to cost less than what you do if you do the straddle. And then in this case, again, we're assuming you're more confident in the long, so you want to have a little bit more strength in the long. And it also requires less upside move for you to break even if you do the puts this way. And basically, strangling allows you to be a little bit protected and puts you in a better position to gain should the results end up going the way you expect them to. So that's kind of, and again, this one, they're both, we're going to talk about risk and reward in a second, but this one a little bit riskier, and you really have to be extremely confident that it's going to move in that direction, which I think is pretty important here. But now let's talk about how would you implement these strategies? You know what I mean? You really need to make sure you have identified the stocks that you're interested in before those earnings announcements. We talked about that yesterday. Biggest key to trading earnings, knowing what actually is reporting earnings. And if you're going to be after market close.
Latrell Sprewell, just so you understand, he used to be a point guard for the Knicks, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's what he's joking about there. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Shout out to Neil. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I would not have gotten that. So I appreciate the context there. I was loving Neil's little comments in the text.
I
Always
love
very
it,
entertaining.
man.
Lots of pop culture. Some of it I get, some of it I don't. And the stuff I don't, I learn. So I really enjoy that. Shout out to The Real Deal as always. But the other real deal is these options. To make a little awkward transition there, right? But yeah, like I said, if you're going to trade earnings, you have to know actually what's reporting. And one thing too, I will say, I mentioned this earlier as well, with the podcast, with earnings season in full swing, they actually go over the next week's earnings in the podcast as well. So you can watch that on Saturdays and get a sense for what's going to be reporting the next week. So you could be nice and prepared there. So nice little shout out there, doing great work and definitely something to be apprised of. But yeah, the other thing too with knowing what stocks you're going into ahead of earnings is so that you can analyze the historical volatility and implied volatility, the implied move, to gauge the expected price movement and the price direction. And what's nice here too is they actually tell you what the previous move was. So you can use that in tandem with the expected move and be like, hey, so last time it was, X amount of reactive, and it was reactive in this direction or that direction. And then also too, maybe what you want to do is look at that previous move, say, what did we actually report to give us that move? Exactly. And then I think that would be, how does it react with an X scenario? How does it react in a Y scenario? I think that's, that's pretty interesting. And I think it's cool that we have resources like that to look at. And then basically what you're going to do is the biggest part of implementation, you have to execute the strategy by buying both the call and put options. Now, if you're going to do straddle, you're going to do the same price for both. If you're strangling, you're going to make sure that you have the other side in a chokehold. So you have a little bit more for one direction, the direction you're more confident in than you do for the other direction.
Ma'am.
Also, you do have to understand that the cost of entering a straddle or a strangle can be a little bit higher because you're purchasing two options. Yes. So the price movement really has to be significant enough to cover these costs. So we're talking about risk to reward ratio. That's kind of an example here. And that brings us to the last topic today, risk versus reward. I snapped way too hard there. My finger got a little bit of a workout. Ooh. Okay, so risk, right? We'll save the best for last. We'll save the rewards for last. But the risk basically comes from the fact that the stock price, if it doesn't move significantly, you could actually result in losses because you already paid the premium for the options. Also worth noting, one thing I found really interesting in that Investopedia article I was reading, and you can just find that by Googling, straddling and strangling. One thing I found too is they talk a lot about taxes. That was the thing. Theirs was a little bit more specific to the US. It was a little bit harder to talk about tax law because it, of course, varies from place to place.
Obvious.
But it's really important, Sharif and I were talking about this on camera as well, and he was explaining to me, tax is always going to be super important with all aspects of trading, especially options, and especially if you're buying two, because you do require two options for this, it's definitely something worth noting, and especially, 100%. With regards to the fees as well. Additionally, with time decay, some of the value can be eroded from the options if a price movement that you want doesn't happen ASAP Rocky.
But that typically doesn't hapen with earnings, right? And so I saw there Caleb Gonzalez. Hit it, Katina, man, before I go on. He's reloaded on the future. Again, short SPY. The Katina man continuing to fight with the futures as it continues to move back down. It's not a fight. You know what I'm saying. Dance. That's... The futures are tapping out. It's all over. No, but I wanted to say, Caleb Gonzalez says you need more movement on the strangle because after earnings, you'll get a volume crush. So if you don't get big moments, you'll most likely lose on both with a volume crush. So one thing I want to point out there is that you have an issue with time decay. Obviously, you have an issue with it moving into the strike price. That's why you're using the expected move to guide which strike price you're getting. So if I can show this over here, Ram, for a second, Walt Disney, look at this, for example, previous move, plus 6.9%. Expected move this time around, plus or minus 5.8. That should obviously guide what strike price you're looking at here, what the expected move is. Is it foolproof? No. Can the expected move go far beyond 5.8 to the top side or the downside? Absolutely. Nothing is certain in trading, right? It's always a probabilities game. So I want to make that point that you are likely to get that move, Dara, after earnings. If you were to employ this strategy outside of earnings, there would be a question whether you get the movement or not. But because we know earnings is one of the most volatile times for an instrument, we are likely to get it.
Yeah, thank you for
Whether
putting that
top
out.
side or the downside.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Caleb Gonzalez, for those
Yes.
notes as well from options traders, because Sharif and I are not necessarily options traders or at,
No.
at all in my case. And yeah, you know what I mean? So I think it's great to learn a little bit every day. And so we always appreciate people with different perspectives giving us some education as well, because
Absolutely.
how to trade, we're all learning here together, trying to be more cognizant. Shout out to a word we use a lot, and that's also literally on our little banner. Also, yeah, in terms of rewards here, we got to talk about rewards, because you can't have risk without rewards. I mean, you can, but we are talking about rewards. One thing too is if there's a significant price movement in either direction, you can make a pretty profit on this, although you do have to keep fees in mind as well, because if it doesn't work out, it can be a little expensive. If it does, you got that nice profit you can celebrate. Also, profits are maximized when the stock moves beyond your break-even point, so you can get even more movement, and those break-even points are determined by the sum of the premiums played for the call and the put options. So we talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm going to pull that up again. Payoff chart. I know someone was mentioning, I believe Lincoln in the chat earlier, mentioning this, and yay, we found this little diagram again. So I'm gonna have to way zoom this in. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so a little bit blurry, unfortunately. But we've got the, I'm gonna find another one, because that was, a little bit not visible here. Okay, just a little technologically unsavvy here, but yeah, there is, I was looking for, here we go, okay. So this is what I was looking for. Yeah, sorry about that, Fabian and Ramin there. I found the correct one. Here we go. So here, this is, I think it was Lincoln in the chat mentioning this, like really important. So you've got the option premium. So if you look at your P&L, profit and loss, you're lower here, right? Then you have your strike price. Then what you want to consider also is your break-even point. So at what point have you made break-even between where it struck and how much you paid for the option? And then they show from that point up and beyond, to infinity beyond, shout out to Buzz Lightyear, that's going to be your profit. And so I find this to be a really helpful diagram, and thank you, Lincoln, for mentioning this one to us. Happy I was able to find one, and yeah, that earlier one was not legible at all. So this, a little bit too zoomed out, but I think this is a nice look there.
That's a great one, yeah.
And yeah, really good example. And it also shows you bought the $25 call at the price of 120, so it shows you exactly on this chart. Really nice look, and I think this helps kind of contextualize the reward possibility there. So cool looks. And option time, weighing your options here.
Yeah, I like that. All right, guys, let's get back to some trading here. I've been intensely watching Apple as Adara was dropping hot lines there, and I've been watching this 189 level. And we've been putting in the sequentially higher lows, but we did reject that 189, but we didn't tank immediately. But I am nervous punching into Apple long, Ram, because we are below 15.6 on the future. And so I don't want to take Apple long and have the futures turn and have Apple reject that key resistance level on the day. It's not a key resistance level in general, it is on the day. We've been obviously having trouble breaking through 189 for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. We trade what's in front of us. So the future, doing that dance, not choosing what direction it wants to go, and as a result, this bullish look on Apple through the break of 189 is going to have to hold on. Even if it breaks 189, I mean, I'm probably not going to take this unless we get a direction here, a decided direction with the futures. So a bit of a tougher look right now on AAPL. I like the chart pattern. Look at this. It dips in to 188.80. It gets bought up immediately, right back up into 189 we go. We obviously have a seller there at 189, but I mean, can we really run over that seller if the future starts pumping to the high side? I think so. So we'll have to wait and see. Big Kyle Burdett, sorry, buddy, but I really need an Apple to tank, help my future short. That's exactly what I'm agreeing with you, Kyle. I mean, I don't want to take Apple north when the future hasn't decided it's going to hold above 17.6. Above 17.6 right now, but it's still very much within a range. Like, look at this. This is the futures. Range, range, range. That's what we've been doing for the last, let's say, I don't know, another about 45 minutes we've been ranging here on the future between 17,590 and 17,615. Tops and bottoms. Those are the tops, those are the bottoms on the future for the past 45 minutes. So great that it's above 17.6 right now, but does it hold? Anyway, so I'm not taking Apple long through the break of 189 on a guess. I'm going to have to wait for it to break, hold, and I'll give up some profits if I have to ensure that the trade will run in the right direction. We're at lows pretty much here. We're here on the NQ, so I'm not guessing this one north. Mr. Long Shorts, Russell, RTY could be a good bounce spot. Let's have a look at the Russ. The Russ is outperforming all the indexes today, without exception. Dow, NASDAQ, and ES included. The Russ is up 0.5 percentage point on the day. Let's bring in the RTY, the Russell March contract. So this excludes pre-market price action, okay? So this is right over here, starting from 9:30 onwards. The Russ has a top of 1963. We're trading at 53 right now. The closing print on the Russ was 43. So a lot of threes involved right now on the Russ. But we have been putting in lower highs, Mr. Long Shorts. So we topped out there, a bit of a double top through the break of 1960, and then it's been sequentially lower high, lower high, lower high. Where's my VWAP on this chart? Probably took it off because it was interfering. Let's put it back on. Intraday VWAP, apply, okay. There we go. So we're just south of VWAP right now, in fact. Yeah, I'm not going to punch in the Russ here just because of these lower highs. This concerns me a little bit. We definitely need a trend change for me to get involved on the Russ on the day. So I'm going to say no to that one, but I will be very much alive to it if it does break. Chart definitely looking weak from earlier, says Mr. Long Shorts. I definitely have to agree there. Accurate on that one. Looking at some of my side charts here, trying to look for something that's moving, not liking anything at the moment. Let's have a look at the scanners. We mentioned today that the chips were awfully weak, whether it was NVIDIA, which is down 3.8%, or AMD. This is the chart on NVDA as we come into, oh, okay. Okay, this is interesting. I didn't even notice this. Okay, so NVIDIA basing out right now, not on yesterday's high, but on the previous day's high. So this is February 2nd. So this is Friday's high at, you guessed it, 666s, baby. Remember when we were yelling about this on Friday?
Yeah.
The 666s, the devil, right? So we were yelling about that. And look where we're basing out here. We're holding that 665, 666 area, so that goes to Friday's low that we're holding up. So if we base out, this could be an interesting long here on NVIDIA if the market starts to curl back up. But you're not going to see me guess here. I'm going to wait until there is sequentially candles to make higher lows and higher highs. Right now, we definitely need to break above that 671 for me to get interested. So keeping an eye on NVIDIA. AMD, also a weak name on the day, tanking 4.5%. Outsized volume today, about 40, almost 45 million shares done. We based out at 163. That's not really a level that I'm interested in, whether, you know, on the 5 or the 15. So I'm going to stay away from AMD at the moment. Micron was the other one yelled out by Neil. That was weak on the day, and it is weak, down 3% today on Micron. We really are at multi-week lows here as we broke down below that $85 support area that we've been having here on Micron. Low a day today on Micron, 84.12. Barely holding on to that whole dollar. So we'll keep an eye on Micron. And then everybody's favorite, Super Micro Computer. Neil just stole Ram's snacks.
What?
Neil just stole Ram's snacks.
How dare he?
Yeah, he went into Ram's snack corner and he took himself some ketchup chips there. Shout out to Neil. Ram. She got her stuff stolen. That's all good.
Robbery victim. Oh my
right? And he came running back too with the chips.
Oh.
This is something you guys don't have in the United States.
No,
Neil, no. Can I show them the ketchup chips? Yeah, so this is something I think you guys don't have too much
good.
of,
They're really
ketchup
good.
chips. Did they? Oh, I didn't know that.
I thought they got a kitchen.
Okay. Lolo says Neil won't share his snacks. Yeah, well, whatever. Neil does share his snacks, actually.
No, that's not true. I don't share my
Oh, I stand corrected. Neil does not share his snacks. So you are right, Lolo. I was wrong. But yeah, there you go. So those are, we're talking about the chips, sorry. SMCI also down on the day. Ram, chart. She's like, yeah. Yeah, breaking down here, but let's see what the key support levels are here. Do we have anything here that we can chart on SMCI? That 625 low, was that something that we were looking at prior? Not really. So SMCI, no man's land here. I mean, I don't have a trade, Adara. I mean, I had 2 good trades to start off the show, and then I have had nothing for a while. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, I think hard too because you had great trades earlier. So I know too. It's like when you have good trades, you don't want to like risk it. You know what I mean? Which I totally understand.
It's not. I don't like anything.
Yeah, no, I get
really
that. I mean, I had some bad trades earlier, and there are some, so one could argue I have nothing to lose, but also I did like this Tesla flat bottom break thesis, which is why I got involved in this short here. We have lower highs, especially off of VWAP confluence, and we have what looks to be a flat bottom break. I like the look of this indeed. If we break beyond that 183, I'm going to have to say sayonara. Not a huge position. I'm willing to build if she shows me some levels that she'd like me to add at. But I'm not too picky. I definitely want to have everything out by this 180-150 area, which would be about $1 in the simulator money. But also because, I like that previous area of resistance. This, flat bottom breaks if there's nowhere to go, but, the abyss make me a little bit nervous because, like I said, I'm a bit rangier. But because I have previous levels of resistance and support, I'm okay with this. We did some rough trades earlier, and I will say, I was on the IWM a little bit earlier, but the Russell 2000, but I felt a little rusty on that after a bit. I will say this to me, I agree with you, Mr. Longshorts. Looks a little bit strong. The other thing I'm concerned about though is we could be flat bottom breaking. I know we're up on the day, but lower high, and this 197.80 area is pretty flat. I tried to get involved in the short in this earlier. It ended up holding up, but I'm keeping an eye on this in either direction, but I have a feeling we might actually break down before we break up. But that's just my take on that. I might actually start building a position here around VWAP, I have to say.
What are you looking at?
This
IWM.
A potential flat bottom break on IWM. We're breaking below it now. We held that 170 like a glove earlier, more or less.
Fantastic lower highs there, Dara.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, look at that, sequentially lower highs and lower lows. So it is a bit of a downward channel after initially it was a bit of an upward channel, so a bit of a triangle retracement there.
Yeah, and she got me a little bit mixed up here in this long earlier because I was just long ranging this off VWAP, and then she decided actually I'm a short now, and I'm like, that's okay.
Yes.
Tried to get the short, didn't end up working out. But I do think that if we, depending on what we do here, and I'm going to be cognizant of these wicks into that 192.60 that we could keep getting bought up. So I do not want to go chasing waterfalls here. However, if this ends up coming to fruition, I'm not going to say never to this move. I think this is a potential opportunity, much like I think Tesla is a potential flat bottom break. But right now, the Cybertruck is just kind of stalling in the parking lot right now. Also, some people mentioning a potential Lily bounce. I concur. I tried to get involved in this, did not get filled. It's a little bit difficult to get Philly and Lily sometimes just because of the liquidity on that. And as I mentioned, the volatility. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, a bit of a bottom here. I think Elon in the chat was mentioning that 692 bottom, and I must agree there, that 692, a bit of a bottom here. I was thinking we could have continued to be short, but then we got that move up here past that 696. Like I said, I was watching that 696, 695 as well, because that was an area where we had a little bit of support yesterday, and then that big move back up. So I mean, if there's another dip opportunity, I want to get into this. I tried to get into this. I was not allowed entrance. That's okay. Gonna keep moving. But if there are more dips, I do think this looks like a nice little recovery, a bit of a rounded bottom here. And as Michael Noss does say, by the roundy face, or by the smiley face, but I'm using the Sharif version of that. Kyle Burdett saying, is that the first half of a rounded bottom? It looks like that right now for me, for Lily. But I do not want to make any assumptions and move. And if I was involved in this, like I said, really volatile, what I would be doing is just kind of getting into that, like what I normally do for dips in either direction. Just go to the previous area, support or resistance, scalp it out. So that's what hit my hand there a little hard on the desk. But that's what I'm interested in here for Eli Lilly. And then, Tesla still deciding if she's going to be Stressla or Besla or a Mesla, as she often is. But yeah, not too much on my horizon either, although Meta looking rangy in a way that's kind of appetizing to me. So we'll look at that. Meta actually getting compressed. Okay.
Is it becoming compressed law?
Well, yeah.
I tried. You know I'm not that good.
No, I like it. No, I wish it was on Tesla, 'cause that would have been awesome.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess Tesla getting a little bit compressed. But yeah, I mean, Meta certainly compressing though in a way that's interesting, but I don't know what direction we're gonna move in. Generally though, as we do know, compression wedges, they usually tend to resolve in whatever direction we're already moving. We're down on the day. Meta could be going down. Adara, I think you're running out of time to make a decision here. But for now, I'm gonna stay in the Cybertruck with Meta very much on my radar. How are you doing? What are you looking at?
Keeping an eye on Neil Kashkari dropping hot lines as we speak. Fed Kashkari says inflation has come down very quickly and labor market is very strong. It's a conundrum, he says. Okay, so he's caught in between two thoughts. Don't blame him. The next comment, Kashkari, a recession is not my base case. Very interesting. Okay, because a lot of people were predicting a recession last year, and that prediction got kicked down the road to the end of this year, from what I'm hearing. Leon Cooperman was on CNBS yesterday saying basically the same thing. Kashkari says again, recession is not my base case. So yeah, those are the comments coming from Neil Kashkari right now. He started speaking at around 1 o'clock. We had Fed Mester at 12, Kashkari at 1, and we have Fed Governor Collins at 2 o'clock, right when the big kahunas take over. So every hour between 12 and 2, we're going to be getting, well, we got 2 already, Fed speakers. And if Kashkari, I don't know if he's done or not, but if anything new comes into my news blotter, I will let you know about Kashkari. But I'm continuing to watch Apple here, Adair. And the reason I'm watching Apple, we've been flirting with 189. 189 is an obvious top on AAPL, but this is what got me a bit more interested, this higher low here. So this is the low, and then a higher low, and then a higher low, and another higher low. All the while keeping that 189 flat top. You know, whether this materializes or not, that's not, you know, for me to know at this moment. We're going to find out in due time. But I am awfully optimistic about this this Apple break. And I'm thinking about getting involved here. Now, if I was to get involved here on Apple, this would have to be my out. I'm basing it on this higher low over here. Here we go, 189 again here on Apple. I would have to get it out through the break of 60. So 188.60, I would have to risk about 30 pennies if I was to get in here on AAPL. If it did break this low, I'd end it. That would be the end of the trade for me. But, you know, I'm hesitant because it's been consolidative for the entire day. You know, the chances of it breaking out now is, to me, you know, a little bit less likely, especially with Power Hour coming in about, you know, another half an hour and a half. Yeah, here we are back into near 189 again on AAPL, up 2/3%. I am looking to I feel like I'm grasping at straws on these longs today because the market is so depressed below VWAP. It's above 17.6 right now, but not by much. Still definitely within that consolidative range that we've been having on the future. And if you're wondering why I'm talking about the future and talking about Apple, because, well, I don't want to take the Apple long when the future is consolidative. Like this is the MNQ March contract right here. Look how long we've been within this range. Right? This basically takes us back to about 12:30. So about an hour within this range right now on the MNQ. So keeping an eye on that. Apple just rejected, came back down into low 180s. So we'll have to wait and see what we get there on AAPL. Nothing else happening for me at the moment. Looking at some other stuff on the side over here. EVs are all strong today. Did you notice this, Adara?
Yeah.
Lucid up 6.5, Fisker 6.25, Polestar 7, Nikola 5.5. Yeah. So EVs today, for whatever reason, are strong. Do they have a trade though? I'm looking right now to see what kind of trades we're getting on these bad boys, and I'm not liking anything. AKA Tesla has hit 61.8% strong fib support, potential swing. What do you think? Okay, let's have a look at TSLA. I'm assuming you're looking at, well, where are you drawing the fibs from? AKA, if you don't mind my asking, right? Because it's all really gonna depend on where you're drawing the fib from. And you're talking about a swing, so I'm assuming it's on a wider time frame than the one I have right now, which is a 5. Tag me again, let me know where you're drawing that fib from, and then we'll have a look. But with respect to current price action on Tesla, I mean, you don't have to be a super chart analyst to look and see that it's rejecting off VWAP for the past almost hour. So 1225, it's now 132, and it's been rejecting off VWAP every pop into the volume weighted average price at around 183 and 1/5, has rejected without really putting in higher lows. Like, look at these bottoms over here. We haven't been putting in higher lows necessarily to say, oh, look, you know, we're compressing for a flat top break through VWAP. No, not really. Monthly low to high, says AK. Okay, so let's have a look at the monthly on TSLA. And low to high, he says. So the low, well, the low takes us back into January of 2023. Just tell me exactly where you're drawing it from. Tag me again, because I can't guess, right? Well, we're going to draw it from the low over here. We're going to give this a try. So we're going to draw it from the low of January 2023 to the high of July of that same year. Where are we here? You're right. We are at exactly 38%. So yeah, that 2/3 area, we did dip right into that, but we did bounce. That's an interesting look there. Yeah, I'm not going to base too much on that. Look, I told Brendo today, I'm going to add another 5 shares on Tesla. I got 10 shares initially. I'm going to add another 5 at 175. It's going to be very incremental adding here on Tesla. I'm not going to take a big position. I will really take my time adding Tesla to the long term. I don't know where this is going to bottom, and I don't want to have to aggressively DCA at some later point to break even. I don't want to be in that position. So I'm going to really take my time adding to Tesla. If that means lower profits or, you know, whatever I end up missing out, that's fine. So I'll just take that with what it is. But going to be adding essentially maybe $5, $10 increments, very small positions in the long-term account on TSLA. I believe this is, you know, the full story of this stock is yet to be realized. That's just my opinion. AK says December 2022 till July 2023. That's essentially where I drew that. 178 swing, he says. Okay, I do, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, that is interesting. It did look like it bottomed out near today's price action. Today's low on Tesla is 177.11. So it was around 178, same thing. You're not going to be able to notice that on a monthly chart anyway. So yeah, we're looking at the same levels, AK. I do like that. Whether you're going to hold it for the long term or swing it, entirely up to you. I'm going to be adding incrementally on the long term.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting look. And I think, you know, like I said, I've been really, for whatever reason, getting into Tesla Bull Twitter, because there's a lot of conversations there in Tesla shareholder Twitter. And yeah, they certainly, it's a pretty intense and strong community there.
What's the, what are they, like, what's the main topic being discussed right now?
Well, it's the trying, basically they want to, they support the move to Texas, and they basically had this whole petition. I think the signatories for that, they had to end by Sunday, but they ended up getting, I think, over 10 million shares, I believe. So however many shareholders representing however many amount of shares, and signed this letter. I don't know how successful it was, but I know, like, you know, the effort of it was very successful. So the point I'm trying to make is, like, it is a very strong community, and, you know, like, certainly huge fans of Elon. They really support the stock. You know, I don't have huge opinions in the long term in terms of Tesla. I trade it, I day trade it, I'm going to be really honest. However, I can respect the hustle, and I do think it's really cool the extent to which they do believe in that stock and in its story. And I think you represented that really well just now, saying that, you know, this stock certainly has a story to tell. You know who else has a story to tell? That's a bad transition, but I'm in Meta. We got our first little beak water in Meta. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I liked you. Well, I think I mentioned the idea of the compression wedge breaking. Basically, like I said, I always like to take some profit at previous areas of support and or resistance, because we're in a long or short. I'm going to take it at previous areas of support. Got some out at that 456.90 area, so definitely saving a piece for the dream. Want to get everything else right below that 456, so we're going to get that beak water ready to go. There, because I would like everything out by that point. I always get nervous holding beyond where we had previous areas of support and resistance, because you don't really know how much it's going to hold, but especially with that wedge breakdown. We got the first part of the wedge breaking down. Let's see if we break down any lower. Hello, CDP in the chat. Hello, and shout out to you, saying hi there. Also, someone was saying BA, Boeing in the chat. I mean, we had Spirit Airlines reporting this morning, and they also, much like Boeing, did not provide any guidance. Boeing is a nice look here, much like what AMC was doing earlier off this is my 9 EMA, holding this like a glove. this is a really nice look. Just bounce, bounce, bounce here, bouncing off once again. Yeah, I think, you know, if we keep seeing higher highs, higher lows, certainly not a bad look on Boeing. Congrats to anybody who's flying with this one to the high side. Let's look at Spirit now. Spirit Aeros, what's funny because we have Spirit Airlines running. This one has earnings later this week as well, I believe. Spirit Aero Systems also running here. Initially, you know, petered out a little bit here after the open, around 12, around when Real Deal with Neil began. We made a bit of a double top, petered out a little bit. I guess I don't want to say cup and handle because it wasn't a huge handle, but I guess if you like grip the cup with like, you know, your hands without a handle, maybe it's like that, the cup bottom. Really nice move back up here though. Nice look here for Spirit Aero Systems. And let's look at Save now because I know Save was having a nice saving grace there earlier today. Yeah, Save's still strong. I have nothing else to say about this one except do your thing 21. Riding these highs, higher lows, trend line, all these airline and plane adjacent stocks flying quite nicely right now, I do have to say. The other trade I'm in, and I literally have nothing to report other than I'm in it because it's at exactly my point of entry, is IWM. You know, I was a little bit rusty with the Russell earlier today. We had a little bit of some points of contention here. We were fighting a little bit, although there were, I would say like, you know, about half the trades here had been successful, and even the ones that weren't, you know, risk management, just trying to get out of stuff. So I, you know, not going to beat myself up too harshly on this, but if we break above that 193, I'm going to have to say sayonara. If we hold 193, I may add a bit to the position. Basically just trying to range this. I like these lower highs, as I was saying to Sharif earlier as well, and I want to get everything up. I'm not saying everything. I'm not piecing this out. I don't have enough to piece it out. I want to get out should we get to that 192.60 in terms of a profit area. So I guess not that I really am a huge adherent of the risk and reward ratio. You know what I mean? Like I have risk management in mind, but I think for me it's more just on levels. However, this would actually be a 3-to-1 risk to reward. So not at all unhappy with that. I would be pleased as punch, but I'd be more pleased if we can get to my area where I can get that beak wet and I can run out of this. I can hustle my way out of the Russell. That would be very nice indeed, wouldn't it? But we're getting close to VWAP, so things are getting dicey. Also, Meta, weirdly trying to make a bit of recovery at the bottom of that trend line where we got that beak wetter out. So going to be keeping an eye on her as well. Okay, Meta, be nice, Meta. If Meta breaks above that 458 area, so that would be the upper end. The upper, or I guess the most recent high in this compression wedge, I am saying Audi. I will say I'm pretty happy we have some profit taken out here, but I would like it if, you know, if it could get a little lower, of course, that'd be nice indeed. I would not object to that. Tesla also, I did get out of this. We broke above that 183. I had to say sayonara. In retrospect, I probably maybe could have held it a little bit longer just until VWAP. But to be fair, we haven't broken out of this either. You know, like Tesla's just kind of chilling like a villain. I don't have much to say on this. Cybertruck giving you maybe like at this point, probably a couple, like what, 20, 30 cents of range, and a little bit harder to predict as well. So, you know, just probably waiting in the Cybertruck. And I think the fact that we're just hovering below VWAP means that it could go either way. Because at one point, you know, I originally thought it was a short, but we also did have that rounded bottom. Mind you, the VWAP has been a really nice cover here. So I do think Tesla really needs to decide what she wants to be when she grows up. She hasn't made the decision yet, so I'm going to have to leave her be for the time being and just hang out with these Meta and IWM trades, especially as IWM gets close to my decision point there.
Adara, NVIDIA's pumping here. Finally, we're getting something moving and not just stagnating. So NVIDIA moving here off that, yeah, you guessed it, 666 little bottom there that we made on the 1 minute. And there we go. Here comes 673. So we're moving up here on NVDA. Looks like we're almost going to take 674. VWAP on this chart is 678 1/3. Let me double check that. On my other chart on NVDA is 678.12. So essentially the same thing. A lot of aggressive buying right now on this name, helping smiley face, roundy face, whatever you want to call this. Shout out to Michael Noss. This one is curling to the high side. Expect resistance at VWAP. I'm not saying VWAP is going to materialize into a key level of resistance, but you need to anticipate it because we are moving aggressively to the high side. All the pops into VWAP earlier today have been sold off. So if that pattern remains intact, we will likely reject at that level, if not before. Keeping my eye on NVDA, still definitely a counter trend trade if you're taking this north because we're down over 3% on the day. So a bit of a tough look there. I want to tell you this real quick. Kashkari still dropping hot lines. Kashkari, The yield curve is not a reliable indicator of a recession because disinflation isn't being mostly caused by the Fed, okay? I'm not gonna really go into a deep dive on that, just giving you these little headlines coming out of the Fed speaker's speech. I don't know what the hell he's doing over there, speech or it's a sit down, whatever it is, yeah. So giving you those as they come in, and then you can make your decision about how to interpret them. Keeping an eye here on NVIDIA because this is curling up nicely. I want to see what this one does. Big Kyle Burdett, where's your VWAP showing on NVIDIA? So on this chart, Kyle, this starts around 6 a.m., starts populating around 6 a.m. I have about 678.36. On my other chart, which populates from 4 a.m., 678.12. Hope that helps, Kyle. Magic 8 Ball, moving on up to the big leagues.
Oh.
Am I moving on up to the big leagues? Well, it's perfect. Magic 8 Ball.
Oh, I like that. I just realized that. Okay, nice.
Come on.
Let us know, Magic 8 Ball. Either
Better not tell you now. Oh, it won't tell me.
I think that means, yeah, because he's playing kind of hard.
Think so?
It's being kind of coy.
It is being coy.
I think it could be a good sign, sure.
One more time here. Outlook, not so good. All right, 2 out of 3. Let's go. Come on. Fur, baby, fur. What do I got over here? No, there's too many bubbles, Adara. I can't read it. Dang it. Oh. Better not tell you now. You suck.
So basically, it does not want to tell you anything. It's
Oh.
being very difficult.
I got it. Yeah, man. Play football, man. All right. Here we go. We're doing this again. Neil's giving me his. Will I be joining the big leagues? Very doubtful. Okay. So clearly I will not be joining the big leagues. 2 out of 3 we did on that one. Thank you, Neil.
Oh, Fee Rhymes with AMC doing the chat. 8 Ball for you saying, what's the thank you to you, Fee Rhymes with AMC. Also, Marshall Abu calling out your logic. I don't think that's how it works, Sharif, with the, I guess, best of 3 there. Oh, it's a 50-50 scenario, my friend. Make your move, but brace for uncertainty.
Oh.
Knowledge is power. Seek it. So basically what it told you with it can't tell you now. So yeah, I like,
Okay.
you know.
Where are you looking, Adara?
consistency. In the chat. So Fee Rhymes at AMC did the 8 Ball function.
I
and
didn't
then
even
the
know
8
there was an
told
8
you
Ball
that.
function.
I've
I
seen
had
it a
no
couple
idea.
times, yeah. But I mean, thank you so much, Fee Rhymes at AMC, for settling this for us once and for all here. Jeeb 1000 saying, Sharif, you're amazing. So
Oh, thank you.
Sharif,
That's
you're
nice,
amazing.
Jeeb.
Yeah, I mean, killed it on your trades today. Congrats to
Appreciate it.
you.
Well,
Fabulous.
we were okay. Nothing really to write home about. Sorry we couldn't get into more trades as the show went on, but I genuinely don't like anything at the moment, especially with what the future's doing. You know, there's just super tight range on the future. It's really really preventing us from really popping off. Look, we're getting away from 17.6 now, guys. We're at 17.6 and almost a third now. Okay, so the future's starting to go here. I'm not seeing that kind of move on Apple. So the future is breaking above 17.6, but you're not seeing that corresponding move right now on Apple through that 189 break that we've been talking about for the past couple of hours here. So less confluence than I anticipated between, Adara looked at me as soon as I said confluence, like hit the button, between Apple and the future right now. It seems like as if you want to take something north, you're gonna have to look at NVIDIA, or you're gonna have to look at the Amazon popping up through 168.50. But as I say that, let me tell you about this. I just got this notification that Rumble has come into that $7.65 area. And this is the area we were talking about earlier on Rum that we were interested in for an area of support. There it is. So we were talking about Rumble coming possibly into VWAP and us being interested at VWAP and at this area over here, which crested out at 762 on Rumble. So let's go ahead and pull up Rumble here on a trading screen so that we can figure out what we're going to do. So what are we going to take off? We're going to take off Meta. So this was a hell of a trade here on Meta. We're going to get rid of that bad boy. We're going to go to RUM. Is that the NQ? It is. Yeah. So let's have a look over here about what we're getting on Rumble. 8% to the good. Let me look at this part over here. All right. So if I was to enter here on Rumble, I'm going to have to let this trade go below the break of 760 because I could give it to 755, but that's the most I could do. So let's go ahead here and go Mickey Mouse shares into Rumble. And then we're going to give this one to 755. Doesn't hold up to 755. Prints 54s. That's the end of that. So we're looking for a retracement on RUM to hold at VWAP at this moment or thereabouts. We're also basing it on this crest initially, former area of resistance. Looking for that area now to act as support. Let's see what Rumble does, up 8 1/4.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rumble, but like so many things are moving in really crazy ways. So to the point where, as someone who prefers range, it's a little bit harder to find your foot in the door or find a way to put your foot in the door. Also, shout out to Mr. Longshorts, totally calling this IWM bounce. I called it incorrectly, thought it was a short. Happy I was able to get out with some of my dignity intact. No, I'm joking, we're fine. I got out where I wanted to get out. I got out before that big bounce. Like I said, I added a little bit at 193 because initially we held it, then we broke above it, got out right above that 193. So no regrets. Shout out to Worth the Millers. And quite honestly, no regrets, because you know what I'm learning is, as you were saying, you either lose or you learn.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big thing with trading as well. I mean, have some of my trades today been questionable? Sure. Like, has it been perfect? Absolutely not. But I feel like, it's really hard when as someone who considers myself more of a range trader, all I can do is take advantage of these moments where you do have opportunities. And I have to say, I'm pretty pleased as punch with what happened with Meta. Pretty proud of myself on this trade because it was just, seeing ranges and trying to find opportunities that worked for me. And I always get happy when I'm able to scalp out at the top or the bottom of a wick. That's what happened here. So I'm just going to kind of be a little happy. I like, I'll explain my thesis on this though, first and foremost. Wedge, and I got involved because I was like, hey, this wedge might be breaking down. And as we know, I like to take profit out of previous areas of resistance and support. We got down, shout out to Sharif, I can't say it right, the down, at that 456.85, had a beak wetter ready to go. The duck nibbled in the pond there. We hit the like button on Meta. We got up part of the profit. Then we got down to that. Sorry, I yelled that. I got really excited. I apologize. We got down to, we broke below that 456, and there was another beak wetter ready. Meta dipped its toe into the pond and then flew right back up to 457. So this is why, I think the beak wetters are nice because it's just ready to go there. Didn't have to worry about it.
Was that a resting profit taker?
Yes, it was. Because I would not have been able to punch that. Like, that would have been too nuts for me to punch.
How gratifying does that bottom wick feel right there? Especially if it pops back up and doesn't come back into that level. Like,
thank you. I have
brush
to say,
that dirt
thank
off
you
your
so much.
shoulder.
And I feel really happy with this. Like I said, this has not been my best trading day. Neither was yesterday. So just having moments like this, trading, I guess trading your book, as everyone says here, like this is.
Yes, ma'am.
It was just trading, getting areas of previous resistance and support, trading out of a compression wedge. I have to say, it feels a little gratifying, as you said. And I thank you. I appreciate the shout out there.
And if when you were saying, I haven't been doing that. Oh, what do we got? I was just about to talk about it. The Katina Man is $2 in the money on Disney, and somebody in the chat just pointed Disney out, so I loaded it up on the screen. I was about to talk about it. Shout out to the Katina Man Print Factory on DIS. Make sure to check out Disney tomorrow. It is an earnings play. After the bell?
Believe after the bell.
After the bell, I'm pretty sure. I think I just saw it.
No, because I did the earnings board. It's not before the bell. Sorry for interrupting.
So if it's after the bell, then you'll be able to meet the Katina Man on the Market Recap Show, 4 to 4:30. Make sure to check out Disney. A lot of stuff being talked about on Disney right now. There is that fight, you'll recall, between Nelson Peltz and Trian and the Disney brass. He's trying to get a board seat. They don't want him on. They've told him you have nothing to offer, and they've given him an advisory position. He doesn't want that. He wants to be on the board, and he's essentially using Ike Perlmutter's money. All of this money, I think he has about 30 million shares. 25 million of those shares that Trian holds belong to Ike Perlmutter. About 5 million of those actually belong to Nelson Peltz. So he's playing with somebody else's money here. We'll have to see how this whole thing turns out. They don't want him on. He's insisting on being on. I wonder how this turns out. Let's talk about this trade, Adara. We got bottom wick so far on Rumble, and there we go. We get the print at 75. Now we're waiting for the print on 80. So it was a former area of resistance turning into support. If this one crosses 80 and touches 81s, will be a whole 13 pennies in the on the money, in the money. The Katina Man hitting the cash register there on RUM. Guys, Mickey Mouse shares on this one. Very small shares. We just got this one to stay interested. We're looking for an 80 print. Let's see how Rumble does. Up almost 10% on the day. We're looking essentially, if you're just joining us, the reason we got in this trade Well, there was this crest over here earlier on at around 761 that we rejected off. We were looking for that previous resistance level now to start acting as a level of support, hence why I had a notification to tell me that it dropped down to here, and that's why we got in here. That is the reason and the only reason.
May I also say I love just that you got it with those other dips. Like this is so clearly an area of support.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and you were like, there you go.
Hopefully, we'll see.
You already have some beak wetters.
Yeah,
you know.
one
some
beak
of the
wetter.
ducks are rumbling.
Hey, yeah, okay, I like that.
Also, was the Mickey Mouse shares, was that an intentional transition into Disney?
It was not, but you're really good at picking up on that. I say Mickey Mouse shares because I used to say at the gym a lot, I'd be like, oh, that's Mickey Mouse weight.
Yeah, like
so then I'm like, well, I'm just use that in trading, right? Like,
but I mean, you know, I have Disney pulled up for Joanna Brewster here, and for some other people mentioning Disney. I know the crazy Stitch lady, of course, she's on top of Disney. You know, Stitch is a Disney character there. So shout out to you. Shout out to Sean in this Disney trade. And as I was saying in the chat, Sean will take you through the House of Mouse earnings tomorrow after the close. So you can definitely stay tuned for that. But I mean, Disney, what a look.
Unreal,
Another one, just trend line with this 9 EMA. To the moon here, I guess to infinity and beyond. You know, shout out to Disney and Buzz Lightyear there. I used that shout out earlier, but I think it's way more apt when I'm talking about Disney because, whew, nice look here. Someone earlier in the chat, I apologize, I didn't look at this one earlier, was mentioning the possibility of Disney at 100. And I mean, I think, you know, it's not a bad look at all. We had this kind of move down, Disney curling back up. We also, you know, I'm on the daily chart here now. That 96 area, a little bit, you know, maybe earlier resistance. We broke above it. I think a nice look here, and I think, you know, starting the start of January, not at all a bad look for the House of Mouse. Let's hope its earnings don't disappoint. And like, you know, that Nelson Peltz, aka the stepfather of Brooklyn Beckham. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. You did tell me about that.
I always talk about this because it's crazy to me. But yes, we're gonna have to see what happens there with the whole Nelson Peltz situation. Some people were saying I might be buy the rumor, sell the news. So we'll have to see there.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, sorry, the Stitch lady there. Appreciate that about just reading the names there. But yeah, of course, shout out to the Stitch lady and those great Disney trades and everybody here. Disney and on the show in general. Sorry,
yes,
what were you going to say?
We only have about 5 minutes left, but I just wanted to mention that there was a deep dive into one of the podcasts that I follow about Nelson Peltz and all that he has to offer, his history, et cetera, and he doesn't really have a good track record with the companies on which he's been a board member. So the question has always been posed to him, well, what do you have to offer? You don't have media experience. He's responded to that saying, well, maybe you guys need somebody without media experience because you guys aren't getting the job done. And so there was that, obviously. And then the other part was, well, what did you do on the board on Wendy's? What did you do on the other, I think there was another couple of companies he sat on, and they performed very poorly while he was a board member there. So there's been that kind of rebuttal from Disney with Nelson. We'll have to wait and see how this goes, but it's not the first time he's put in a proxy war to get in a board seat. So we'll have to see how he does on this one. Anyway, Rumble. Let's get to this one. A couple of beak wetters here, Ram, as we broke through that 7-8 level. Now I've got my other profit taker sitting at 785. I have my stop, guys, below 755, but I think I'm going to move that up. I'm going to move it up into 760. So if it comes into that 759 area, that will be the end of the trade. We'll have to wait and see what this one does, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to manage this position while I'm at the big desk. About only 5 minutes left on the show. It has been a bit of a slower afternoon. It started off awfully strong. We had a trade on Tesla. We had a trade on Meta, but things have really calmed down here in the afternoon as we had a plethora of Fed speakers. We had Mary Daly, we had Neil Kashkari, and now we have Fed Collins coming on in about 5 minutes. We were anticipating market moves based on the Fed speak. We were anticipating market moves based upon the 3-year auction at 1 o'clock. We didn't get the moves that we wanted, so maybe Power Hour will be a little bit more eventful than the midday today. We'll have to keep an eye on things, guys, but interesting look today, Adair.
Yeah, no, I think it's been yeah, thank you so much to Bears vs. Bulls for the support. Thank you to everybody here in the chat. I love being here, and I have to say, I think, as you were saying, a bit of a slow day. I think maybe the award for least interesting stock in the midday has to go to Tesla. Shocker of the century. Other than that, you caught that long earlier today off VWAP. Congrats to you. Although I think a lot of the beak wetters were ready before the midday even began.
Yes, they
were.
So
I think that move was a little bit over by the time we even got there. Yeah, I mean, Sharif will take, the ducks were ready at the pond there, and then and then they just kind of
Well,
ran
the whole
out of
point of
water.
what was this was straddling VWAP from the top side, and now it's straddling VWAP from the downside. So
That
it's
is true.
flipping a little bit here, Adara. And we got out of this as soon as it came into that VWAP area. Like, look, it's not going to hold, and we got out. So that was the end of the trade on that.
But yeah, I mean, it's not been, I have to say, it's not been super interesting. I kept trying to short this one on the way down, but it was not holding. And I was like, I like ranges, but this isn't even a range. This is like it's breathing, like a little, breathing a couple pennies, you know, here, a couple pennies there. And I guess I am not adept enough to capture those movements, just really small movements here on Tesla. But yeah, I mean, right now we're trying to break above VWAP again. I feel like I'm in Sharif Sean auctioneer mode there. Oh, is it going? Is it going? No, we did not break it. That 183.30 seems to be Tesla's invisible wall. So we'll see what it'll do there. But yeah, I think Meta definitely one of the more interesting trades today in terms of these mega caps. As we said, not a super interesting time. Sharif killing it with that short off that VWAP down into that 456. I tried to take, you know, the compression wedge, but I think that 456 area, certainly a point of bouncing for Meta. Bounced here after that long earlier, also bounced after bounced after the short twice is what I meant to say there, I apologize. But yeah, I think certainly still super rangy, but that 456 is not an area of Meta that I would scoff at. That's where we broke out of that range earlier, and that's where we had some support later. How is Rumble going? Is there any other trades you're looking for as we head into the rest of the day?
Just holding this, Adara, looking for that break above 785. We've moved up our stop now, so from 754 into 759. If it breaks VWAP, which is 761 on my chart, that's the end of the trade. It's very small size with respect to this trade, but we are looking for that move up, at least maybe to have another run at $8. That was obviously the top from earlier today. I'm talking about Rumble, 798, the HOD there. We haven't been able to break through that $8 level, but if you look at the bigger time frame on Rumble, it has been awfully bullish. And you know, you can anticipate this to continue to be it can continue to be volatile. Whether it's bullish or not, we'll have to wait and see. But as the primaries continue to progress, and as possibly the election comes up more, you know, close in time, these DWAC names, Funware, Rumble, etc., all these names that are linked with the election of Ladera could be quite volatile and present good trading opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, what a way to put it. Thank you so much for putting it like that. You know, Rumble initially did have some other catalysts, but I think it benefited from running when DWAC and Funware were having their time in the sun.
Absolutely.
So I think certainly they've been seen in tandem now. But, you know, we are going to have to say au revoir soon, but lots of discussions here. I know Sean and Neil are going to take you through some fabulous trades.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, we also do have the real deal now. There's posting those on Instagram. So you can see Neil in his cool shades in the thumbnail taking you through some cool trades. Cool shades and cool trades. Oh, my gosh. New rhymes. But, yeah, for now, though, we are going to have to see you in a couple seconds. We will be seeing you tomorrow with some more earnings plays.
Yes, ma'am.
And with some more Sharif-specific earnings strategy, which I'm really excited to hear as someone who's still learning to trade earnings. But for now, we are going to have to see you same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow. Brendan is going to be at the big desk, though.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. 2 o'clock on a busy afternoon here as we get still some comments coming through from Fed's Kashkari still